The night Mirella Vale almost died, she was wearing a borrowed uniform and carrying lies heavier than the champagne tray in her trembling hands. Manhattan rain hammered against bulletproof glass while 5 men in the private dining room discussed who would disappear next. She shouldn't have understood their Italian. She shouldn't have been there at all. But when the phone rang and her voice cracked, "Nona's dying." The youngest man at the table looked up, and Mirella knew she had just made a fatal mistake. His name was Cassian Moretti, and men like him didn't forget faces. They collected them. Stay until the end. Drop your city in the comments so I know how far this story travels. Hit that like button. You're going to need something to hold on to. The rain came down like punishment. Mirella's heels clicked too loud against the wet tile as she shoved through Casanero's back entrance, already 15 minutes late and drowning in the kind of panic that tasted like copper. The kitchen smelled like garlic and desperation. Hers, specifically. Lanny Cooks didn't look up. They never did. She was another ghost in a black uniform, another body barely holding on in a city that chewed people up and spit out the bones. 6 months since Chicago. 6 months since she'd left everything behind except the bruises that had finally faded and the instinct to flinch whenever a man raised his voice. New York was supposed to be different, anonymous, safe. She should have known better. Vale. The manager's hand clamped around her wrist before she could tie her apron. Marco, 50-something. Cologne that smelled like failed ambition. VIP room. Now. Her stomach dropped. I'm not trained for... Wait. And more. You speak Italian, don't you? The lie she'd put on her application 6 months ago, the one she thought would get her hired faster, came back like a boomerang to the throat. Yes, but then move. These guests don't wait. He dragged her through the kitchen, past the expo line where tickets piled up like casualties, toward the hallway that led to the private dining suites. The ones where senators ate. Where business deals got made over wine that cost more than her rent. Where people like her didn't belong. Marco, I can't. You can. You will. His fingers dug deeper. One mistake tonight and you're done. Understand? She understood. She'd been done before. That's why she was here. The door to the VIP suite was solid mahogany, the kind that swallowed sound. Marco shoved it open without knocking, and the conversation inside died instantly. 5 men sat around a table set for war. That's what it looked like. Not dinner. War. Expensive suits that couldn't hide the violence underneath. Scarred knuckles wrapped around wine glasses. Eyes that tracked her entrance like predators watching prey stumble into a clearing. The air smelled like cigar smoke and something darker. Power, maybe. Or blood that hadn't been spilled yet. And at the center of it all sat the youngest one. He couldn't have been older than 30. Dark hair swept back from a face that belonged in Renaissance paintings. Sharp jaw, full mouth, eyes so dark they looked black in the candlelight. Beautiful in the way knives were beautiful. The kind of man who made you forget to breathe until it was too late. He didn't look up when she entered. Didn't need to. The other 4 men had already stopped talking. Your server tonight, Marco announced, shoving her forward like an offering. She'll take excellent care of you. Then he left. The door clicked shut, and Mirella stood there with her empty tray and her racing heart, and the sudden crystalline certainty that she'd just walked into something she wouldn't walk out of. Wine, one of the older men said. American accent. Boston, maybe. The Barolo. She moved on autopilot, grabbing the bottle from the sidebar, hands steadier than she felt. Poured 5 glasses without spilling, served them clockwise, starting with the eldest. The hierarchy was obvious even without introductions. Nobody thanked her. Nobody looked at her. Except him. The young one in the center watched her with the focused intensity of someone solving a puzzle. Not sexual. Worse. Analytical. Like he was cataloging every micro-expression, every nervous swallow, every lie she'd ever told. Mirella retreated to the corner, tray pressed against her stomach like a shield. They resumed talking. English, mostly. Business terminology that meant nothing to her. Shipping routes, port authorities, customs delays. Boring rich people problems. She let her mind drift, calculating how many more shifts she needed before she could afford to fix her car, whether her landlord would accept another late rent payment, if she should just give up and go back to pay. Il problema è Baresi. Her head snapped up. Italian. They'd switched to Italian. The older man, silver hair, navy suit, a scar that cut through his left eyebrow, leaned forward. Lucien non si fermerà finché non avrà quello che vuole. Lucien won't stop until he gets what he wants. Another man responded, younger, nervous energy rolling off him in waves. Allora cosa facciamo? Lo lasciamo prendere Napoli? So what do we do? Let him take Naples? The beautiful one, the one still watching her even as the others talked, lifted his wine glass. Didn't drink, just held it up to the light, examining the red liquid like it held answers. Lucien può avere Napoli, he said softly. His voice was smoke and gravel, the kind that wrapped around your spine. Quando sarà morto. Lucien can have Naples, when he's dead. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Mirella's hands went numb. She understood. God, she understood every word, and the weight of that understanding sat on her chest like a corpse. These weren't businessmen, or they were, but business meant something different when you discussed murder over Barolo. Don't react, don't move, don't let them see. She kept her face blank, eyes on the floor, breathing through her nose because her mouth had gone too dry to function. They kept talking, details she didn't want to know, names she'd never repeat. Her ears rang with the effort of not listening while simultaneously catching every word. Then her phone rang. The sound shattered the conversation like a gunshot. Every head turned, every pair of eyes landed on her. Mirella fumbled for her pocket, hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped the tray. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought I turned it off. Answer it. The beautiful one. The dangerous one. His voice cut through her panic like a blade through silk. I can't. I'm working. I'll just answer it. Not a suggestion. A command. She pulled the phone out with numb fingers. Unknown number. International code. Her heart stuttered because she already knew, but she answered anyway, bringing it to her ear with a hand that wouldn't stop trembling. Pronto? Her grandmother's voice cracked through the speaker, weak, fading. Mirella, piccola mia. And just like that, Mirella forgot where she was. She forgot the 5 men watching her, forgot the danger, forgot everything except the sound of the only person who'd ever loved her without conditions, now struggling to breathe 2,000 miles away. Nonna! Her voice broke. Nonna, cosa è successo? The conversation spilled out in rapid Italian. Her grandmother in the hospital, the doctors saying weeks, maybe less. Please come home. Please don't let me die alone. And Mirella felt her carefully constructed walls collapse like sandcastles against a tide. She was crying. She realized it too late. Tears on her cheeks, salt in her mouth, her chest caving in with the weight of 6 months' worth of grief she'd been holding back. Barreau, she whispered. I'll come. A lie. She couldn't afford a bus ticket to Brooklyn, let alone a flight to Sicily. Ti prometto, verrò. When she finally hung up, the silence in the room was deafening. 5 men stared at her, but only one mattered. The beautiful one set down his wine glass with deliberate precision. You're Sicilian. Not a question. An accusation. Mirella wiped her face with the back of her hand, mascara probably smeared to hell, not caring anymore. My grandmother, I'm sorry. I'll go. Sit down. I should sit down. Her legs obeyed before her brain caught up. She sank into the empty chair at the table, the 6th chair, the one that had been waiting like a trap, and watched him watch her with those black, bottomless eyes. What's your name? Mirella. Her voice sounded hollow. Mirella Vale. Where in Sicily? Agrigento, small village outside the city. You wouldn't... I know it. He leaned back, fingers drumming against the table. A ring on his right hand caught the light. Thick gold, some kind of crest she couldn't make out. How long since you've been home? 12 years. Why? The question landed like a fist. Mirella's throat closed. She couldn't answer that. Couldn't explain the scholarship that brought her to America at 17, the business degree she'd earned while cleaning hotel rooms, the marriage to a man who'd seemed safe until he wasn't, the escape in the middle of the night with nothing but her passport and the clothes on her back. Family reasons, she finally said. His mouth curved. Not quite a smile. Something crueler. Family reasons, that's what we all say, isn't it? One of the other men shifted uncomfortably. Cassian, leave us. The words were quiet. Absolute. The four men stood as one, grabbing their jackets, their phones, their weapons, because she saw them now, the bulges under their suits that meant guns. They filed out without a word, and then it was just Mirella and the man named Cassian in a room that suddenly felt too small. He stood, walked to the sidebar, poured 2 glasses of something amber and expensive looking, brought one to her. Drink. I'm working. Not anymore. She took the glass because refusing seemed more dangerous. The liquid burned going down. Whiskey, probably, the kind that cost more than her security deposit. Cassian sat down across from her, close enough that she could see the scar above his left eyebrow, the one that disappeared into his hairline. Close enough to smell his cologne. Cedar and something darker, something that reminded her of smoke. Your grandmother is dying, he said. You want to see her, but you can't afford the flight. Mirella's fingers tightened around the glass. How do you... Because you're working as a server in a restaurant where the tip from one table could cover your rent for a month. Because you showed up late, desperate. Because you're wearing shoes with the heel half broken. His gaze flicked down, then back up. Because I'm good at reading people. And you, Mirella Vale, are an open book. Her face burned. I'm not offering charity. He took a sip of his whiskey, eyes never leaving hers. I'm offering a job. The room tilted. A job. My organization requires someone fluent in both Italian and English. Someone who understands Sicilian culture. Someone who can move in certain circles without raising suspicion. He set his glass down. Someone who doesn't ask questions. What kind of job? Translation, interpretation, occasionally attending meetings as my companion. The word hung between them like a noose. I'm not a prostitute. I'm not asking you to be. His voice remained calm, clinical. I'm asking you to stand beside me at dinners, openings, negotiations. Look appropriate. Translate when needed. Help me understand the cultural nuances I might miss. For how long? 6 months. And the pay? He named a figure that made her stomach drop. Enough to fly her grandmother to the best hospital in Italy. Enough to cover treatments, specialists, whatever she needed. Enough to change everything. Too much. Why me? Mirella's voice came out hoarse. You could hire a professional translator, someone with experience. I could. Cassian leaned forward, elbows on the table, and for the first time she saw something flicker behind the careful control. Something hungry. But they wouldn't be interesting, and you, Mirella, are very interesting. I'm nobody. You're a liar. The words were soft, almost gentle. You're a Sicilian woman who fled her homeland 12 years ago, came to America, built a life, then burned it down 6 months ago and ran to New York with nothing but a fake smile and survival instincts sharp enough to cut glass. You're fluent in 3 languages. 2. 3. Italian, English, and violence. I saw how you held that tray tonight, like a weapon. His smile was a slash of white in the dim light. You've been hit before, recently, and you learned how to hit back. Her chest seized. He couldn't know. Nobody knew. I have something else for you. Cassian reached into his jacket, pulled out a folder. Manila, thin. He slid it across the table. Mirella's hand shook as she opened it. Police report. Chicago PD. Her name. Her address. The old one. The apartment she'd shared with him. Photos she didn't remember being taken. Hospital records. Restraining order. The words blurred together. Domestic violence. Multiple contusions. Victim fled the scene. Records that were supposed to be sealed. How did you... I told you, I'm good at reading people. Cassian took the folder back, closed it with a soft snap. And I always research my investments before I make them. I'm not an investment. Everyone's an investment, Mirella. The question is whether they're worth it. She should have run, should have thrown the whiskey in his face and bolted for the door, called the police, called someone. But the police hadn't helped her in Chicago. Nobody had helped her in Chicago. And the only person who'd ever protected her was dying in a hospital bed in Sicily while Mirella poured wine for strangers. What happens if I say no? You go back to your life. I go back to mine. Your grandmother dies alone. He said it without cruelty, just fact. What happens if you say yes is more interesting? You'll send me to Sicily. Tonight, private jet. You'll be there by morning. And then? Then you decide if you're coming back. It was the choice that broke her. Not the money. Not the fear. The choice. He was giving her a way out. Temporary, conditional, but a way out nonetheless. I need to think. You have 30 seconds. Cassian checked his watch. Something Swiss and obscenely expensive. Because the jet leaves in an hour, with or without you. Mirella closed her eyes, saw her grandmother's face, heard her voice on the phone, cracking with pain and loneliness, felt the weight of 6 months running, hiding, surviving on fumes and fear. Opened her eyes. What do I have to do? Cassian smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. First? He stood, buttoned his jacket, moved toward the door with the fluid grace of a predator who'd already won. You're going to get on that plane. You're going to see your grandmother. You're going to accept my money for her care. And then... He paused at the door, hand on the handle, looking back at her with an expression she couldn't read. Then you're going to come back to me. Because I own you now, Mirella. The moment you take my money, the moment you step on that plane, you belong to me. His voice dropped to a whisper. And I don't let go of things I own. The door opened. 2 men in black suits stood outside. Security, obviously. The kind that carried guns and knew how to use them. Take her home, pack her bags, bring her to the airfield. Cassian's gaze raked over her one last time. And Mirella? She couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. Don't run. I'll know. And I'll find you. He smiled again, soft, deadly. I'm very good at finding things. Then he was gone, and the 2 men were moving into the room, flanking her like guards escorting a prisoner, and Mirella sat there with her broken heel and her dead-end job and the taste of expensive whiskey still burning in her mouth. She'd just sold herself to the devil. And the worst part, the part that made her want to laugh and scream and cry all at once, was that she'd done it willingly. The men drove her to her apartment in silence, a black SUV with tinted windows and seats that probably cost more than her car. She gave them the address. 5th floor walk-up in Queens, the kind of building where the elevator never worked, and the neighbors never asked questions. And they didn't comment. Didn't judge. Just drove. Her apartment looked smaller than she remembered. 1 room, kitchen that was really just a hot plate and a mini fridge. Bathroom where the shower never got hot enough. Everything she owned fit into 2 suitcases and a backpack. The men stood in the hallway while she packed, silent sentinels, making sure she didn't bolt through the fire escape. She thought about it. God, she thought about it. But then she remembered the number Cassian had quoted. The private jet. Her grandmother's voice on the phone. I own you now. 20 minutes later, they were driving through Manhattan toward New Jersey, toward an airfield she'd never heard of, toward a plane that would take her across an ocean and into a life she couldn't imagine. The jet was exactly what she expected. Cream leather, mahogany paneling, a bedroom in the back, champagne chilling in a bucket she didn't touch. Cassian wasn't there. Just a flight attendant who smiled too bright, and a pilot who didn't ask questions, and the 2 security guards who'd driven her here, now settling into seats near the front like they were along for the ride. Mirella sat by the window, watching the lights of New York disappear beneath the clouds, and wondered when exactly her life had stopped being hers. The flight took 8 hours. She didn't sleep, couldn't, just stared out at the black Atlantic and thought about all the ways this could end. Most of them involved her body washing up on some forgotten beach, weighted down with regret and bad decisions. But some of them, the dangerous ones, the ones that made her pulse quicken in ways that had nothing to do with fear, involved Cassian's hands on her skin and his voice in her ear and the promise of something she hadn't felt in years. Power, not over others, over herself, her life, her choices, even if those choices led straight to hell. They landed in Palermo just after dawn. The air smelled like salt and oranges and home. A car waited on the tarmac, another SUV, another silent driver. One of the security guards handed her an envelope. Hospital address, your grandmother's room number, money for whatever she needs. He paused. Boss says to take your time. He'll contact you when it's time to come back. And if I don't come back? The guard's expression didn't change. He'll find you. They drove away, and Mirella stood there on Sicilian soil for the first time in 12 years with an envelope full of blood money and a future that looked like a noose disguised as a lifeline. The hospital was modern, clean, nothing like the overcrowded public facilities she remembered. Her grandmother had a private room, machines that beeped softly, nurses who spoke in gentle tones. And when Mirella walked in and saw that tiny, frail figure in the bed, the woman who'd raised her after her parents died, who'd taught her to make pasta from scratch and curse in 3 dialects, who'd cried when Mirella left for America and never once asked her to stay, she finally let herself break. Nonna! The old woman's eyes opened, cloudy with medication but still sharp underneath, still fierce. Mirella, her voice was paper-thin. You came. Of course I came. Liar, a weak smile. You never could lie to me, Piccola. Mirella pulled a chair close, took her grandmother's hand. The skin felt like tissue paper, bones too prominent, the weight of 90 years settling into a body that wasn't ready to let go. How did you afford this? Her grandmother's gaze drifted around the room. This place, these doctors. A friend helped. What friend? Mirella's throat tightened. Someone I met in New York. Someone good? The question hung between them. Someone good, someone safe, someone who wouldn't hurt her the way the last man had. I don't know yet, Mirella finally said. The truth, for once. But he got me here. That counts for something. Her grandmother's grip tightened. Barely, but there. Men like that always count. The question is what they're counting. They sat in silence, hands clasped, while the machines beeped their steady rhythm and morning light crept through the windows. Outside, Palermo woke up, horns honking, vendors shouting, life continuing despite death waiting in hospital rooms and private jets, and the spaces between promises and threats. Mirella stayed for 3 days, sleeping in the chair beside her grandmother's bed, eating food the nurses brought, watching the old woman fade by inches. The doctors were good. Cassian's money had bought the best. But some things couldn't be fixed. Some deaths came anyway, no matter how much you paid to keep them at bay. On the 3rd night, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. But she knew. Somehow, she knew. Hello? How's your grandmother? Cassian's voice, smooth and dark, even through the static. Stable, the doctors say, Bao. I don't care what the doctors say. I'm asking how she is. The question threw her. Not clinical, not transactional, almost personal. She's dying, Mirella said quietly. But slower now. She has time. Good. A pause. I need you back in 3 days. 3 days? I can't just... You can. You will. The steel returned to his voice. I held up my end, Mirella. Your grandmother has the best care money can buy. She'll want for nothing, but you and I have an agreement. We don't have anything. You threatened me. I gave you a choice. You made it. His breathing changed, deeper, slower, like he was considering something. Don't make me remind you what happens when people break their promises to me. The line went dead. Mirella sat there in the dark hospital room, listening to her grandmother's labored breathing, holding a phone that felt like a shackle. 3 days. Then she'd have to go back to Cassian, back to whatever he was, back to the life she'd accidentally sold herself into for the price of a plane ticket and medical bills. Her grandmother stirred. Mirella? I'm here. That man, the one who helped you. The old woman's eyes found hers in the dim light. He's dangerous, isn't he? Mirella thought about lying, thought about protecting her grandmother from the truth one last time. Yes, she whispered instead. And you're going to him anyway. I don't have a choice. We always have choices, Piccola. Her grandmother's hand squeezed weakly. Sometimes they're just all terrible. 3 days later, Mirella stood at the same airfield, same plane, same path back to a life that wasn't hers anymore. The flight attendant smiled. The pilot didn't ask questions. The guards who'd driven her grandmother to the airport that morning, because Cassian had arranged for her to stay in a private care facility with round-the-clock nurses, because of course he had, nodded once before disappearing into the terminal. Mirella climbed the stairs into the jet, and this time Cassian was waiting. He sat in the back, glass of whiskey in hand, watching her with those black eyes that saw too much. He changed clothes. Dark jeans, white shirt open at the collar, casual in a way that made him look more dangerous, not less. "Welcome back," he said softly. She didn't respond, just took the seat across from him, buckled in, stared out the window as the plane began to taxi. "Your grandmother settled in well. The nurses say she's responding to treatment." "Thank you." "Don't thank me. You're paying for it." "With what?" "I don't have—" "With 6 months of your life." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, close enough that she could smell his cologne again. "Starting now." The plane lifted off. Palermo disappeared beneath clouds, and Mirella felt the last thread of her old life snap like a wire pulled too tight. "Where are we going?" "Tuscany. I have an estate there. You'll stay with me." "Stay with you? In your own room. Your own space. I'm not a monster, Mirella." His smile was sharp. "Not entirely, anyway." "Then what are you?" The question came out harder than she meant, angrier. 6 days of sitting in a hospital watching death approach. 6 days of thinking about what she'd agreed to. 6 days of her grandmother's warnings echoing in her head. It all came spilling out in those 3 words. Cassian didn't flinch. "I'm someone who gets what he wants, always. And what do you want from me?" "I haven't decided yet." He sat back, studying her like she was a painting he was considering buying. "That's what the next 6 months are for, to figure out what you're really worth." "I'm not—" "You keep saying that. You're not a prostitute. You're not an investment. You're not property." His voice dropped to a whisper. "But you are mine, Mirella. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be. And if I don't accept it, then it'll be hard." He raised his glass in a mock toast. "But you'll accept it eventually. They always do." The plane climbed higher, carrying her away from everything she knew, toward a man she didn't understand, into a future that looked like a cage made of silk and gold, and promises that tasted like ash. And as Cassian turned to look out his own window, dismissing her with the gesture, Mirella realized something that made her blood run cold. She hadn't asked what he did. Hadn't asked about his business, his organization, the conversation she'd overheard in that restaurant about Naples and death and deals made in blood. She hadn't asked because she already knew, and because knowing meant she couldn't pretend anymore that this was temporary, that she could serve her time and walk away clean. Men like Cassian didn't let people walk away. They collected them, kept them, buried them when they stopped being useful. The plane banked left, and through the window she caught a glimpse of the Mediterranean far below, blue and endless and deep enough to swallow secrets, deep enough to swallow her. If she wasn't careful, if she didn't learn the rules fast enough, if she forgot, even for a moment, that the man sitting across from her wasn't her savior. He was her captor, and the 6 months she'd agreed to might as well have been a life sentence. The Tuscan estate appeared through morning fog like something out of a fever dream. Rolling hills, endless vineyards stretching toward mountains that looked painted onto the sky. A villa that wasn't a villa, more like a fortress pretending to be beautiful. Stone walls 3 feet thick, iron gates that required codes and fingerprints to open, security cameras hidden in olive trees, and men, always men, standing at corners, walking perimeters, hands resting on weapons they didn't bother hiding. Mirella watched it all through the car window as they drove up the long gravel driveway, her stomach tight with the kind of dread that tasted like metal. She'd slept on the plane, or tried to, but Cassian had stayed awake the entire flight, working on a laptop, making phone calls in rapid Italian that she pretended not to understand. Business. Always business, the kind that made people disappear. The car stopped. The driver opened her door without a word. Cassian was already out, moving toward the entrance with that fluid predator's grace, not looking back to see if she followed. She did anyway. What choice did she have? Inside, the villa was all contrast, modern furniture against ancient stone, priceless art on walls that had witnessed centuries, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking ground so perfect they looked fake. And everywhere, the sense that someone was watching. "Your room is upstairs." Cassian didn't slow down, just spoke over his shoulder as he moved through the foyer. "Third door on the left. There's a closet. Use it." "A closet?" Clothes. Your size. He finally stopped, turned to face her. Morning light cut through the windows and made his face look carved from marble. Beautiful and cold. You can't dress like a server anymore, not where we're going. Where are we going? Dinner. Tonight. Florence. His gaze raked over her, clinical and thorough. Wear the blue dress, not the black one. Black makes you look like you're trying too hard. Heat crept up her neck. I don't need you to... Yes, you do. He stepped closer, not threatening. Worse, correcting. Like she was a child who didn't understand the rules yet. Everything about you needs to say money, class, confidence. Right now you say desperation. That won't work. For what? For standing beside me. His voice dropped. For making people believe you belong there. For keeping your mouth shut when you hear things you shouldn't hear. A pause. For staying alive. The last two words landed like stones in water. Mirella's throat closed. You said I wasn't in danger. I said I wasn't going to hurt you. I never said you were safe. Cassian turned away, moving toward a hallway that led deeper into the house. Learn the difference, Mirella. It might save your life. Then he was gone, and she stood there in a foyer bigger than her entire queen's apartment, surrounded by armed men and priceless art, and the growing certainty that she'd made a terrible mistake. The room upstairs was obscene. King bed. Marble bathroom. A balcony overlooking vineyards that rolled toward the horizon. And the closet, God, the closet, was the size of her old bedroom. Dresses hung in neat rows, shoes lined up like soldiers, jewelry in velvet boxes, everything designer, everything her size, everything chosen for her by someone who'd studied her measurements, her coloring, her shape. Someone who'd planned this long before she'd agreed to anything. Mirella's hands shook as she touched a silk dress. Midnight blue. Exactly what he'd told her to wear. She wanted to rip it off the hanger, throw it on the floor, refuse to be his dress-up doll. But she thought about her grandmother in that private facility. The nurses, the medication, the comfort that money bought. So she hung the dress back up carefully and went to take a shower instead. The water ran too hot. She didn't adjust it, just stood there until her skin turned red and her thoughts finally slowed enough to think. 6 months. She could survive 6 months of anything. She'd survived worse. This was just a different kind of prison. One with silk sheets and vineyard views and a captor who looked like sin dressed in expensive suits. When she came out, there was food waiting on a table by the balcony. Bread, cheese, olives, wine she didn't touch, and a note in handwriting that was too precise, too controlled. Eat. We leave at 7. See, no please, no request, just commands disguised as concern. Mirella ate because she was starving, because refusing felt like cutting off her nose to spite her face, because at some point in the last 72 hours she'd learned to pick her battles, and this wasn't one worth fighting. The hours crawled by. She explored the room, found her suitcases already unpacked, her clothes, her real clothes, the cheap ones from Target and secondhand shops, hanging in a separate section of the closet like orphans. Someone had been in here while she showered. Someone had touched her things. The violation of it made her want to scream. Instead, she got dressed. The blue dress fit perfectly. Of course it did. Hugged her waist, skimmed her hips, fell to just above her knees in a way that was elegant without being provocative. She found shoes, heels that didn't hurt, which meant they cost more than her monthly rent. Jewelry, simple, understated, probably worth a year's salary. She looked in the mirror and didn't recognize herself. This woman looked expensive, confident, like she belonged in places where decisions got made over wine that cost thousands, like she'd never served tables or scrubbed toilets or run through rain with bruises hidden beneath long sleeves. This woman looked like she was Cassian's. The thought made her sick. At 7 exactly, there was a knock. Mirella opened the door. One of the guards stood there. The older one, maybe 40, scar across his jaw, eyes that had seen things they'd never forget. Boss is waiting downstairs. She followed him through hallways that felt like they went on forever, downstairs that were probably hand-carved by artisans dead for centuries, into a foyer where Cassian stood checking his phone. He looked up when she entered. Something flickered across his face. Fast. Gone before she could name it. Better, he said. Not a compliment. an assessment. Let's go. The car was different this time, sleeker, faster. Just Cassian and the driver and her in the back seat, close enough that she could smell his cologne, far enough that they weren't touching. They didn't speak. Florence at night was magic wrapped in danger. Ancient buildings lit gold. Cobblestone streets wet from rain. People everywhere saw tourists, locals, lovers walking hand in hand, all of them oblivious to the fact that predators moved among them. The restaurant sat on a hill overlooking the Arno. No sign outside. No menu visible through windows. Just a door and a man in a suit who nodded at Cassian like he was greeting a king. Inside was all candlelight and whispered conversations, tables far apart, privacy as currency. Every face turned when they entered, subtle, quick, the way people looked when they recognized power. Cassian's hand found the small of her back, possessive, claiming. "Smile," he murmured against her ear, "and don't speak unless I tell you to." The table was in a private alcove, already occupied. 3 men. 2 Mirella recognized from that first night at Casanero. The third was new, older, silver-haired, with eyes like a shark. "Gentlemen," Cassian pulled out her chair. She sat. He took the seat beside her, close enough that their thighs almost touched. "This is Mirella, my associate." Associate, not translator, not companion. Associate. The word felt like a trap. "Pleasure." The silver-haired man extended his hand, American accent, Southern, maybe. "Marcus Webb. I handle shipping logistics for the Western Territories." Mirella shook his hand. His grip was too tight, too long. "Mirella doesn't speak much," Cassian said smoothly. "She prefers to listen." It was a warning, to her, to them. Don't engage, don't question, don't exist beyond the role I've given you. The waiter appeared. Orders were placed. In Italian, in English, in a mixture of both that made Mirella's head spin. Wine arrived, glasses filled, the conversation began, and Mirella understood immediately why she was here. They weren't speaking directly. Everything was coded, metaphor stacked on metaphor. Shipping delays meant bribes that hadn't gone through. Quality control issues meant someone had stolen from the organization. Personnel changes meant people were dead. But occasionally, just occasionally, they'd slip into rapid Italian. Technical terms. Specifics. Things they assumed an American woman wouldn't understand. Cassian's hand found her knee under the table. Squeezed once. A signal. One of the men, the nervous one from Casanero, was talking. "Il problema è che Barresi ha comprato il porto a Napoli. Abbiamo perso il controllo della rotta meridionale." The problem is Barresi bought the port in Naples. We've lost control of the southern route. Marcus Webb frowned. "I don't follow." Cassian's thumb moved against Mirella's knee. Small circles. Deliberate. She understood. "He's saying," Mirella spoke quietly, keeping her eyes on her wine glass, "that there's been a territorial issue. Someone named Barresi has taken control of shipping routes through Naples. It's affecting operations." Silence dropped like a guillotine. Every man at the table stared at her. Marcus Webb's expression shifted. Surprise, calculation, suspicion. The nervous one had gone pale. Cassian's hand didn't move from her knee. If anything, his grip tightened. "Well," Marcus said slowly, "seems your associate is more valuable than you let on." "Seems that way." Cassian's voice was silk over steel. "Mirella has many talents. I'm still discovering them." The conversation shifted. Back to English. Back to coded language. But something had changed. The men looked at her differently now. Not invisible. Not decorative. Dangerous. Because she understood. Because she could translate. Because she was a liability they couldn't control. The dinner lasted 3 hours. Mirella barely ate. Just sat there while business was conducted around her, through her, using her as a bridge between languages and cultures and criminal enterprises that operated in the spaces where law didn't reach. By the time they left, her jaw ached from keeping her face neutral. Her hand shook from gripping her wine glass too tight. Her spine felt like it might snap from sitting so perfectly still. Cassian didn't speak until they were in the car, pulling away from the restaurant, Florence disappearing behind them in a blur of gold light and shadows. "You did well." The words were quiet, almost gentle. Mirella's laugh came out harsh. I helped you conduct illegal business. I'm pretty sure that's called complicity. It's called survival. He turned to look at her. You think you have clean hands, Mirella? You think you can stand beside me and stay innocent? I didn't ask for this. No, you just took my money, accepted my help, got on my plane. His voice hardened. You made a deal. Now you live with it. For 6 months. If you last that long. The threat was subtle, almost invisible. But it was there. Mirella's chest tightened. Are you threatening me? I'm preparing you. Cassian's gaze didn't waver. Because the men you met tonight, they're already wondering if you're worth keeping alive, if you're a risk, if I should have brought you at all. He leaned closer. And the only reason they're not making that decision for me is because I've made it very clear what happens to people who touch what's mine. I'm not... Say it again, one more time. Tell me you're not mine. His voice dropped to a whisper. And watch what happens. She couldn't. The words wouldn't come. Because somewhere between the plane and the villa and this dinner where she'd translated crimes like they were grocery lists, she'd lost the ability to pretend this was temporary, that she could walk away, that Cassian would let her. The car climbed into the hills, away from Florence, away from civilization, back toward the fortress villa with its guards and its cameras and its rooms that felt like cells no matter how expensive the sheets were. When they arrived, Cassian got out first, didn't offer his hand, didn't wait, just walked toward the entrance like she'd already been dismissed. Mirella followed because she didn't know what else to do. Inside, he finally stopped, turned, looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. Tomorrow, we go to Rome. There's a gallery opening. You'll wear the black dress. His mouth curved. I know I said blue, but I've changed my mind. Black will send a better message. What message? That you're not afraid. He stepped closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Because if they think you're afraid, they'll test you, and I can't protect you if you break too easily. Then don't take me. Not an option. Why not? Because you're useful. Simple, direct, cruel in its honesty. And because I want you there. The words hung between them. 2 different reasons, 2 different kinds of danger. Mirella's pulse jumped. I don't understand you. You're not supposed to. Not yet. Cassian's hand came up, fingers brushing her jaw. Light, almost gentle, the kind of touch that could turn violent in a heartbeat. But you will, eventually. They all do. Then he left her standing there, and Mirella climbed the stairs to her beautiful prison of a room with legs that barely held her weight. She didn't sleep that night, just lay in the too-soft bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to footsteps in the hallway. Guards making rounds, checking doors, making sure nothing escaped, making sure she didn't escape. Her phone buzzed around 3 in the morning. The private facility in Sicily. Her grandmother had woken up asking for her. The nurses said she was doing better, stronger. The treatments were working. Mirella read the message twice, felt tears burn behind her eyes. This was why. This was the reason she stayed. Her grandmother was alive because of Cassian's money, comfortable because of his resources, safe because he'd made it so. And all it cost was Mirella's freedom. Her soul, maybe. Definitely her innocence. Rome was worse than Florence. The gallery opening was in a converted palazzo near the Spanish Steps, the kind of place where art cost millions and people came to be seen, not to look. Mirella wore the black dress. It was tighter than the blue one, lower cut, made her feel exposed in ways that had nothing to do with skin. Cassian had barely spoken to her during the drive, just worked on his phone, made calls, gave orders in rapid Italian that she translated automatically in her head, even though he didn't ask. 3 shipments delayed. Someone needs to pay. Fix it before morning, or I'll fix it myself. They arrived as the sun set. Golden light painted the palazzo's facade. Beautiful people spilled onto the street. Models, actors, politicians, criminals pretending to be legitimate. All of them turning to watch as Cassian emerged from the car. His hand found her waist, claimed her, held her against his side like she was part of his armor. Stay close, he murmured, and remember, you don't speak unless spoken to directly. Inside was chaos disguised as elegance, champagne, laughter, paintings on walls that Mirella couldn't focus on because she was too busy tracking the men who tracked Cassian. There were dozens, some obvious, security, associates, people in his orbit, others hidden, watching from corners, waiting. For what? Cassian. A woman appeared, 40s, stunning, draped in emeralds and danger. I was beginning to think you'd forgotten about me. Isabella. Cassian's voice warmed by a degree. Impossible to forget you. The woman's gaze slid to Mirella, cold, assessing. And who is this? Mirella, my translator. Translator. Isabella's smile sharpened. How practical. The word was a knife. Practical. Not beautiful, not special, just useful. Mirella's jaw tightened. Pleasure to meet you. I'm sure. Isabella turned back to Cassian, dismissing her completely. We need to talk, privately. Later. Now. Not a request, an order. And somehow, impossibly, Cassian's expression shifted. Not submission, but something close. Respect, maybe. Or calculation. He looked at Mirella. Wait here. Don't move. Then he followed Isabella through the crowd, leaving Mirella alone in a room full of predators who'd just watched their king abandon his queen. She lasted 10 minutes before someone approached. Young, maybe her age, handsome in the way Italian men were handsome. Dark eyes, easy smile, hands that moved when he talked. You look lost, he said in English. American accent, West Coast. I'm fine. You're Cassian's new... What? Girlfriend? Translator? Prisoner? His smile didn't reach his eyes. Hard to tell these days. Mirella's stomach dropped. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't. He leaned closer. Word of advice? Run. Now, before you end up like the last one. The last one? His smile vanished. The last woman who thought she could handle him. Smart, beautiful, useful. A pause. They found her in Lake Como 3 months ago. Very tragic. Very convenient. The room tilted. Who are you? Someone who remembers faces. He straightened. And yours is too pretty to forget, or to fish out of a lake. Then he disappeared into the crowd, and Mirella stood there with her heart trying to punch through her ribs. Lies. Had to be lies. Someone trying to scare her. Psychological warfare. Games that men like Cassian played. But she remembered the restaurant in Florence. The way those men had looked at her, like she was a problem that might need solving, like she was already dead. A hand landed on her shoulder. She spun. Cassian. His expression was stone. We're leaving. Now. What happened? Walk. His fingers dug into her arm. Not bruising. Close. Don't ask questions. Don't look back. Just walk. They moved through the crowd. Fast. Purposeful. People cleared a path, and Mirella saw why. 3 men followed them. Not Cassian's men. Different. Harder. The kind who carried violence in their posture. The car was waiting outside. Cassian shoved her in first, climbed in after, slammed the door. Drive. Fast. The driver didn't hesitate. Tires screamed. The car shot forward, and through the back window, Mirella saw 2 of the 3 men emerge from the palazzo, phones to their ears, eyes tracking their escape. What the hell just happened? Cassian didn't answer, just pulled out his phone, made a call. We have a problem. Baresi's men were at the gallery. No, they didn't make a move. Not yet. I don't care what it costs. I want eyes on every entrance to the property. No one gets in. He hung up, looked at her. Who did you talk to? What? Inside. While I was gone. Who approached you? Her throat closed. Some guy. American. He said, what did he say? That I should run. That the last woman who worked for you ended up dead. Cassian went very still. The kind of still that preceded violence. Describe him. She did. Every detail she could remember, and watched Cassian's expression shift from fury to something darker, colder. His name is Jason Webb, Marcus's son. His voice was barely above a whisper, and he just signed his own death warrant. Because he talked to me? Because he tried to turn you against me. Cassian leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. Because he thinks you're a weakness, something he can exploit. Am I? The question came out before she could stop it. A weakness. Cassian's head turned, slowly. His eyes found hers in the dim car interior. What do you think? I think I'm a liability. I think those men tonight wanted me gone. I think you think too much. He reached out, fingers catching her chin, forcing her to hold his gaze. You want to know if you're a weakness? You are. Every person I let close is a weakness. Every alliance. Every trust. But weaknesses can become weapons if you know how to use them. I'm not a weapon. Not yet. His thumb brushed her lower lip. But you could be. The car raced through Roman streets, away from the city center, away from witnesses, toward highways that led back to Tuscany, back to the fortress, back to safety that felt more like captivity every hour. Mirella's mind spun. The man at the gallery, the woman in Lake Como. The way Cassian had reacted. Not denial, not explanation, just cold calculation about who needed to die. Did you kill her? The words came out hoarse. The woman Jason mentioned? Cassian's hand dropped from her face. No. Then who did? Does it matter? Yes. Why? Would it change anything? Would you run? His voice was soft, deadly. Would you go back to New York and your shitty apartment and your minimum wage job and pretend this never happened? I don't know. Yes, you do. He leaned back, shadows cutting across his face. You know you're in too deep now. You know too much. You've seen too much. You've helped me conduct business that could put you in prison for the rest of your life if anyone ever connected the dots. You did that on purpose. Of course I did. No shame. No apology. I told you on the plane, you're mine now, and I don't let go of things I own. The car pulled through the estate gates, up the long driveway, stopped in front of the villa. Guards everywhere. More than before. Armed. Alert. Cassian got out first, spoke rapid Italian to someone she couldn't see, then turned back. Inside. Now. She obeyed because what choice did she have? The villa felt different, tense, like everyone was waiting for something to explode. Men moved through hallways with weapons drawn. Phones rang constantly. And somewhere deeper in the house, voices shouted in Italian too fast for her to follow. Cassian grabbed her arm, pulled her toward his study, a room she'd never been in, all dark wood and leather and maps on walls that showed shipping routes across Europe. He closed the door, locked it. Sit. I'd rather stand. I don't care what you'd rather do. Sit. She sat, watched him move to a bar cart, pour 2 whiskeys, bring one to her. Drink. I don't want... Oh, drink. Not a request, an order. Because what I'm about to tell you requires liquid courage, and I'm being generous enough to provide it. Mirella took the glass. The whiskey burned going down. Good. She needed the pain to ground her. Cassian stood in front of her, too close, looking down with an expression that might have been regret if men like him were capable of it. The woman in Lake Como, her name was Sophia. She worked for me, translated, attended meetings, just like you. Mirella's hands shook. And she made a mistake. She fell in love with someone she shouldn't have. Lucien Baresi's nephew. He took a sip of his whiskey. She started passing information. Small things at first. Meeting locations, names. She thought she was protecting him. Thought if she gave Lucien what he wanted, he'd leave her alone. What happened? Lucien killed her anyway. Made it look like I did it. Sent her body back as a message. Cassian's voice didn't change. Flat. Factual. That's what happens when you betray me, Mirella. Not because I'm cruel, because the alternatives are worse. The room spun. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what's at stake. He crouched down, eye level now, close enough that she could count his eyelashes. There are people who want you dead. Not because of who you are, because of what you represent. A weakness in my organization, an outsider who knows too much. And the only reason they haven't tried yet is because I've made it very clear what happens to anyone who touches you. Which is? I burn their world down. Simple. Direct. True. I kill everyone they love. I destroy everything they've built. I make them beg for death before I finally grant it. Mirella's breath caught. You're insane. No. I'm committed. His hand came up, fingers threading through her hair. gentle, possessive, the touch of someone who owned what he held. And you need to decide right now if you're going to run or if you're going to stay and let me protect you. That's not a choice. It's the only choice you have left. The study door exploded inward. Cassian moved like lightning, gun in his hand. Where had that come from? Aimed at the doorway before Mirella could even process what was happening. One of the guards stood there, bleeding from his shoulder, face pale. "They're here, Baresi's men. They breached the south gate." Cassian's expression didn't change. "How many?" 20, maybe more. They came prepared. Lock down the villa. Get everyone to the safe room." He looked at Mirella. "You're coming with me." "Where?" "Somewhere they can't reach you." He grabbed her arm, pulled her toward a section of wall that looked solid, pressed something. The wall slid open. A hidden passage. Because of course there was a hidden passage. "Move." "I don't—" Gunfire erupted somewhere in the house. Glass shattered. Men shouted, and Cassian shoved her into the passage with enough force that she stumbled. "Move, now!" She ran. Through darkness, down stairs that spiraled deeper into the earth. Behind her, Cassian's footsteps. His breathing. The click of him reloading his weapon. The passage opened into a room. Concrete. Reinforced steel door. Supplies stacked against walls. A safe room. An actual panic room built into the foundation of the villa. Cassian pulled her inside, slammed the door, engaged locks that thudded into place with horrible finality. Then silence. Except for their breathing. Except for her heart trying to explode. What the hell is happening? War. Cassian moved to a panel on the wall. Screens flickered to life. Security cameras showing the villa under siege. Men in black tactical gear, muzzle flashes, his guards fighting back. Dying. This is what happens when someone thinks they can take what's mine. Mirella watched the screens, watched people die in real time, watched the life she'd stumbled into reveal itself fully. Not metaphor, not business deals disguised as dinner conversation, but actual violence, actual death. They're going to kill everyone. No. Cassian's voice was ice. They're going to try. And then I'm going to kill them. Every single one. He pulled out his phone, made a call. "It's me." "Yes, they're inside. I don't care what it takes. Call everyone. I want 50 men here within the hour. No survivors. Anyone wearing Baresi colors dies tonight." He hung up, turned to look at her. And for the first time since she'd met him, Mirella saw something real behind the mask. Fear. Not for himself. For her. "This is my fault," he said quietly. "I underestimated how badly Lucien wants me dead. I thought I had more time before he made a move." "Why does he want you dead?" "Because I control things he wants. Territory, roots, loyalty." A pause. "And because 5 years ago I killed his brother." The words landed like stones. "You what?" "His brother tried to take one of my shipments. Killed 3 of my men, so I killed him." No emotion, just fact. "That's how this works, Mirella. You take from me, I take everything from you." "That's not, what? Fair? Just?" His laugh was sharp. "This isn't a fairy tale. There are no heroes here, just survivors and corpses." On the screens, the fighting intensified. More of Cassian's men arrived, reinforcements streaming through gates, taking positions, pushing back against the invasion. But the attackers were professional, organized. They'd planned this. "They knew exactly when to hit," Cassian murmured, eyes on the screens. "They knew my security rotations, my blind spots." His jaw tightened. "Someone told them." "A traitor?" "Has to be. No other explanation." He turned to her, "Which means I can't trust anyone, except—" He stopped. Looked at her like he was seeing something for the first time. "Except?" she prompted. "Except you." The words came out rough, uncertain. "You have no loyalty to anyone here. No connections. No reason to betray me except—" He trailed off. "Except?" "Except you're terrified of me. And terrified people do stupid things." Mirella's laugh came out half hysterical. "You think I'd help them kill you after everything you've done for my grandmother? I think you'd do anything to survive, same as me." His gaze didn't waver. "Same as anyone." The screens showed the tide turning. Cassian's men were winning, slowly, brutally, bodies piled up on perfect manicured lawns, blood stained ancient stone. And somewhere in the villa above them, people were dying because they'd chosen the wrong side in a war Mirella still didn't fully understand. How long do we stay here? Until it's safe. And when is that? When everyone trying to kill us is dead. Hours crawled by. The screens showed the battle wind down. Fewer gunshots. Fewer bodies moving. Eventually, one of Cassian's men appeared on camera, gave a signal. All clear. Cassian unlocked the door. Stay behind me. They emerged into a house transformed. Bullet holes in walls, blood on floors, the smell of gunpowder and death hanging in the air like fog. Men moved through rooms, checking bodies, securing the perimeter, speaking in low voices that carried weight. One approached. The older guard with the scarred jaw. We got most of them. 5 escaped. We're tracking. How many of ours? 12 dead, 8 wounded. Cassian's expression didn't change. Find the bodies. Get them processed. Pay the families triple. And the prisoners? I'll deal with them personally. He turned to Mirella. Go to your room. Lock the door. Don't come out until I get you. What are you going to do? What needs to be done? She wanted to argue, wanted to demand answers, but she saw something in his eyes that made her throat close. Something dark and final and inevitable. So she went. Climbed stairs that felt like they went on forever. Reached her room, locked the door, and sat on the bed with her hands shaking so badly she had to clasp them together to make them stop. Somewhere below, men screamed. The sound carried through stone walls that were supposed to be soundproof, carried through her closed door, carried straight into her soul and stayed there. She knew what was happening, what Cassian was doing to the prisoners they'd taken, and she knew with horrible certainty that this was her life now. This was what she'd agreed to when she took his money, when she got on his plane, when she stood beside him and translated his crimes like they were poetry. Hours later, there was a knock. She opened the door. Cassian stood there, blood on his shirt, darkness in his eyes, looking like exactly what he was, a monster. They're dead, he said simply. All of them. Mirella couldn't speak. I'm going to shower, then we're leaving. Leaving where? Switzerland. I have another property, safer, more remote. His gaze held hers. Pack light. We leave in an hour. Cassian, don't. His voice cracked, just slightly, just enough. Don't ask me questions I can't answer. Don't make me explain what I just did. Don't. He stopped, swallowed hard. Just pack, please. The please broke something in her, because it meant he wasn't completely gone, wasn't completely the monster he pretended to be. There was something human left underneath all that violence and control and carefully maintained power. Something that might have been worth saving, if it wasn't already too late. She packed, threw clothes into suitcases, grabbed the few personal items she'd brought from New York. And when Cassian came back, showered, changed, the blood gone, but the darkness still there, she followed him down to a car that waited with its engine running. They drove through the night, away from the villa, away from the bodies, away from everything except each other and the choices they'd made that led them here. And as dawn broke over the Alps, painting snow-capped peaks in gold and pink, Mirella realized with horrible clarity that she'd crossed a line tonight, not just witnessed violence, been complicit in it, because she'd stayed. She'd hidden while men died. She'd let Cassian torture prisoners. She'd accepted his protection knowing exactly what it cost. And now there was no going back, no pretending she was innocent, no walking away. She was his, completely, irrevocably. And the part that terrified her most? She wasn't sure she wanted to leave anymore. The Swiss fortress appeared through morning fog, smaller than the Tuscan villa, built into a mountain, surrounded by nothing except rock and ice and isolation. Perfect prison, or perfect sanctuary, depending on how you looked at it. Cassian cut the engine, sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead. I'm sorry, he said finally. Mirella's breath caught. For what? For bringing you into this, for making you part of something you never asked for. He turned to look at her, and for the first time she saw him without the armor, just a man, exhausted, blood-stained, human. I told myself I was helping you, saving your grandmother. being generous. And? And I was lying. To you. To myself. His voice dropped. I wanted you the moment I saw you. Not because of your grandmother, not because of some family connection, because you looked at me like I was human, and I haven't felt human in a very long time. Mirella's throat closed. Cassian, don't forgive me. Don't try to understand. He reached out, fingers brushing her cheek. Just stay, please. Because if you run now, I don't know what I'll do. It was the most honest thing he'd ever said to her, and the most terrifying, because she realized in that moment that she wasn't the only prisoner here. He was trapped too. Trapped by choices, by violence, by a life that had swallowed him whole and wouldn't let him go. They were both drowning. The only question was whether they drowned together or alone. And as Mirella looked into his eyes, those dark, bottomless eyes that had seen too much and promised even more, she made a choice, not because she had to, because somewhere in the last 2 weeks something had shifted. She didn't love him, not yet, but she understood him, and understanding was the first step towards something far more dangerous. I'll stay, she whispered. Cassian's hand tightened on her face. Why? Because you asked. Simple, true, terrible. And because I don't have anywhere else to go. It wasn't romance, wasn't passion, wasn't any of the things people wrote stories about. It was survival. And sometimes survival looked like surrender. They got out of the car, walked toward the fortress, and with every step, Mirella felt the last threads of her old life fall away. No more running, no more pretending, just this man, this life. This darkness she was choosing to step into with her eyes wide open. And as the door closed behind them, sealing them inside stone walls that had witnessed centuries of secrets, she wondered if she'd just made the best decision of her life, or signed her own death warrant. Time would tell, if she lived long enough to find out. The Swiss fortress swallowed them whole. Stone walls 3 feet thick, windows so narrow they looked like knife wounds, hallways that echoed with their footsteps and nothing else. No staff, no guards visible, just emptiness that felt deliberate, like Cassian had stripped away everything except the two of them and whatever truth was about to surface. Mirella followed him through corridors that twisted deeper into the mountain. Her suitcase wheels scraped against ancient stone. The sound made her teeth ache. He stopped at a door, heavy oak, iron hinges that looked medieval. Your room. She pushed it open. Expected another luxury prison. Got something worse. Simple bed, single window overlooking an abyss of rock and ice. No closet full of designer dresses, no marble bathroom, just basics. Survival essentials. This is different, she said. This is honest. Cassian stood in the doorway, not entering. No pretense here, no performances, just what we are. Which is? 2 people trying not to drown. He turned to leave, stopped. Dinner's at 8, don't be late. The door closed before she could respond. Mirella sat on the bed. It was hard, uncomfortable, nothing like the Tuscan villa. And somehow that felt right. Like the luxury had been the lie, and this cold stone room in a mountain fortress was the truth she'd been avoiding. She had 4 hours until dinner, 4 hours to process everything. The attack, the bodies, the screaming from the prisoners, Cassian's confession in the car, her own choice to stay. Her phone buzzed, the facility in Sicily. Her grandmother was stable, comfortable, asking about her. Mirella typed a response with numb fingers. I'm fine, working, we'll visit soon. Love you, all lies. She wasn't fine, she wasn't working, and she had no idea if she'd ever see Sicily again. The hours crawled. She unpacked, showered in water that ran lukewarm at best, changed into jeans and a sweater because nothing here required pretense. Stood at the window watching shadows lengthen across the Alps. At exactly 8, there was a knock. Not Cassian. A woman, maybe 60. Gray hair pulled back severe, eyes that had seen things they'd never discuss. Dinner, was all she said. Mirella followed her down different corridors. Deeper. Until they reached a room that might have been a dining hall centuries ago. Now it was just a long table, 2 place settings, candles that did nothing to warm the space. Cassian sat at one end. He'd changed too, Dark sweater, jeans, looking more human without the suits and the armor of wealth. Sit. She took the chair at the opposite end, 10 feet between them. Might as well have been miles. The woman brought food, pasta, simple. Nothing like the elaborate meals in Florence and Rome. She set plates down without speaking and disappeared. They ate in silence. Mirella couldn't taste anything, just went through the motions. Fork to mouth. Chew. Swallow. Repeat. Finally, Cassian set down his wine glass. We need to talk. About? About why you're really here. Her stomach dropped. You know why I'm here, my grandmother, the money, the job, and... Stop! His voice cut through the space like a blade. Stop lying to me, to yourself. I'm not... Your grandmother's name is Elena Russo, born in Agrigento, 1935, married Antonio Russo in 1954, had one child, your mother, who died when you were 7. Mirella's hands went cold. How do you... Antonio Russo worked for my father, in Sicily, 40 years ago. Cassian's gaze pinned her in place. He saved my father's life during a territorial dispute. Took a bullet meant for him, nearly died. The room tilted. That's not possible. It's documented. Photos, letters, blood debt acknowledged by both families. He stood, walked toward her, slow, deliberate. My father died 10 years ago. Before he did, he made me promise something. What? That if the Russo family ever needed anything, I would provide it. No questions, no conditions. He stopped 3 feet away. That's why I investigated you. Not because you were interesting, because your grandmother's name triggered a flag in my system. Mirella couldn't breathe. So this whole thing, the job, the translation, the dinners, all of it was obligation. At first, his jaw tightened. I was going to help her medical bills, send money anonymously, stay out of your life completely. Then why didn't you? Because I made a mistake. He crouched down, eye level. I went to see you at Casa Nero, just to make sure you were real, that the connection was legitimate. And you walked into that private dining room looking terrified and desperate and so goddamn determined to survive. His voice dropped. And I wanted you. Not because of some family debt. Because you reminded me of something I'd forgotten. What? What it feels like to be human. The words landed like stones in water. Mirella stood, needed distance, needed air. You're telling me this entire thing, bringing me to Italy, the villa, Rome, all of it, was because you wanted me. Yes, that's insane. Probably. He straightened. But it's the truth. And the attack? Baresi? The war you're fighting? Her voice rose. That's all real. That's all... Yes, that's all real. He moved back to the table, poured more wine, drank it in one swallow. The debt brought you to my attention, but everything after, that was my choice. Your choice, she laughed. It came out broken. You don't get to call it a choice when you threatened me, when you said you owned me. I know. You know. The anger finally broke through. Months of fear and confusion and surrendering pieces of herself until she didn't recognize what was left. You know, and you did it anyway. Yes. Why? Because I'm selfish, because I've spent 15 years building an empire by taking what I want and destroying anything that gets in my way. His voice was flat, dead. Because I looked at you and saw something worth keeping, and I've never been good at walking away from things I want. Mirella grabbed the edge of the table, needed something solid. This is sick. Yes. You're sick. Yes. Then let me go. Silence dropped like a guillotine. Cassian stared at her. Something flickered behind his eyes, pain maybe, or the ghost of whatever humanity he had left. I can't. Why not? Because you know too much. Because Baresi wants you dead now too. Because... He stopped, swallowed hard. Because I don't want to. That's not a reason. It's the only reason that matters. Mirella's vision blurred. She wasn't crying, refused to cry. But her body was shaking with rage and fear and the horrible realization that she'd been played from the beginning. My grandmother's debt, the blood oath, That's what you used to justify this. At first. And now? Now I don't need justification. He set down his glass. Now I just need you to accept it. I won't. You will. Not a threat. A prediction. Because the alternative is walking out that door and being dead within 24 hours. Baresi has your picture, your name, your entire history. He knows you're important to me. I'm not. You are. The words came out rough, raw. And that's the problem. That's what makes you a target, not the translation, not the dinners, the fact that I let you matter. The confession hung between them like smoke. Mirella wanted to scream, wanted to throw something, wanted to hurt him the way he'd hurt her by turning her entire life into a chess piece in a game she didn't understand. But she couldn't, because beneath the rage was something worse, understanding. She'd seen the way he looked at her, the way his control slipped when she was in danger, the way he'd asked her to stay instead of ordering it. He wasn't lying about wanting her. He was just incapable of wanting anything in a healthy way. I need air. There's a terrace, 3rd floor, east wing. He didn't try to stop her. Don't go outside. The perimeter's not secure yet. She left without responding, climbed stairs that made her calves burn, found the terrace behind a door that groaned on ancient hinges. The cold hit like a fist. Alpine air, thin, sharp. She gulped it down anyway, let it burn her lungs, let it clear her head. The view was apocalyptic. Nothing but mountains and darkness and stars so bright they looked fake. No lights from civilization, no sounds except wind and her own breathing. This was where monsters lived, in places so remote that screaming wouldn't matter. She stood there for an hour, maybe more. Let the cold seep into her bones until she couldn't feel her fingers. Until thinking became impossible and existence narrowed to just breath in, breath out, survive the next second. When she finally went back inside, the fortress was silent. She found her room, locked the door. Lay on the hard bed staring at ceiling stones that had witnessed centuries of secrets. Sleep didn't come. Around 3 a.m, her phone rang. Unknown number, international code. Her heart stopped. Hello? Static. Then a voice. Male. Accented. Cold. Mirella Russo. Not a question, a confirmation. Who is this? Someone who wants to help you. The voice was smooth, practiced. You're in danger. Cassian Moretti is using you. He killed the last woman who worked for him. You'll be next. Her chest tightened. I don't know what... Lake Como. 3 months ago. Sofia Benedetti, 26 years old, found in 40 feet of water with a bullet in her head. A pause. Ring any bells? It did. Jason Webb at the gallery. The same story, the same threat. If you're trying to scare me, I'm trying to save you, because unlike Sofia, you still have time to run. Why do you care? Because Cassian took something from me, and I'm going to take everything from him. The voice hardened. Starting with you. The line went dead. Mirella sat there in the dark with her phone still pressed to her ear and her heart trying to punch through her ribs. Baresi. Had to be. Or someone working for him. Psychological warfare. Make her doubt Cassian. Make her vulnerable. But Sofia's name. The details. The specific way he'd said it. What if it wasn't a lie? She unlocked her phone, opened a browser, typed with shaking fingers. Sofia Benedetti, Lake. Como death. The results loaded. News articles. 3 months old. Body found. Suspected organized crime. Investigation ongoing. And photos. Sofia had been beautiful. Dark hair, bright eyes, young. Just like Mirella. She read every article. Pieced together the timeline. Sofia had worked for Cassian. Had been seen at his side at events across Europe. Then suddenly, nothing. No announcements. No goodbyes. Just gone. Until fishermen found her body in Lake Como. Police suspected Cassian, questioned him, but he'd had alibis, witnesses, lawyers expensive enough to make evidence disappear. The investigation had gone nowhere. Mirella's hands shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. Cassian had said he didn't kill her, had said someone else did. But he'd also said he tortured prisoners, killed Lucian's brother, built an empire on violence and fear. Why would Sofia be different? She didn't sleep the rest of the night, Just lay there with her phone clutched in her hand and her mind spinning through possibilities that all ended the same way. Her body in water, her grandmother burying another family member, her name in news articles that would fade to nothing. When dawn finally came, she made a decision. She needed proof. Real proof. Not phone calls from anonymous voices or news articles that proved nothing. She needed to know what Cassian was, what he'd done, what he was capable of, and the only way to get that was to stop being his prisoner and start being his spy. The dining hall was empty at breakfast. Just her and cold coffee and bread that tasted like cardboard. The gray-haired woman appeared, set down a plate of eggs without speaking. "Where's Cassian?" "Working." "Where?" "His office, below." The woman's gaze was flat. "You shouldn't disturb him." "I won't." But she would, as soon as she figured out where below meant. She spent the morning exploring. The fortress was massive, rooms that led to more rooms, hallways that doubled back on themselves. And everywhere, locked doors. Heavy, ancient, the kind that required keys or codes or both. She found the office by accident. Third sublevel. Behind a door marked private in 3 languages. It was locked, obviously. Mirella pressed her ear against the wood, heard voices. Cassian's, another man's, speaking Italian so fast she caught only fragments. Shipment delayed. Customs asking questions. Need to move it tonight. Baresi's watching the ports. She pulled back before they could hear her breathing, moved down the hallway, found stairs that led even deeper, towards sounds that made her stomach turn. Generators, security systems, and something else. Voices, plural, coming from behind another locked door. This one was steel, modern, with a keypad that glowed red. She pressed her ear against it, heard a man screaming, not in pain, in rage, in Italian that was all curses and threats. "I'll kill you. Your whole family. Baresi will burn you alive." Then Cassian's voice, calm, cold, surgical. "Where is he?" "Go to hell." A sound, wet, meaty, like flesh hitting flesh. "Where is he?" "I don't—" Another sound, worse, followed by screaming that went on until Mirella's legs gave out, and she slid down the wall with her hands over her ears. This was what he did. This was who he was. Not the man who'd asked her to stay, not the man who'd confessed to wanting her, the man who tortured prisoners in basement rooms while she ate breakfast upstairs. She forced herself to stand, to breathe, to move before someone found her here. Made it back to her room somehow. Locked the door, sat on the bed with her whole body shaking. Her phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. "You heard him. Now you know. Are you ready to run?" She stared at the message, at the truth spelled out in simple words. Someone was watching her, someone inside the fortress. Someone who knew she'd been in that hallway. Another text. "There's a car. North Service Road, 2 miles through the woods, keys under the driver's seat. Go at midnight. I'll make sure the cameras are down." Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Why are you helping me?" The response came instantly. "Because Sophia was my sister, and I won't let him kill you too." Mirella dropped the phone like it had burned her. Sophia's sister. Someone with access to Cassian's systems. Someone who'd been waiting, planning, using Mirella as a pawn in whatever revenge they were plotting. She should tell Cassian, should warn him, should what? Stay here and hope he didn't decide she was a liability? Hope the man who tortured prisoners for information wouldn't do the same to her if he thought she betrayed him? Hope that the feelings he claimed to have were real and not just another manipulation? Her phone buzzed again. Decide fast. Baresi's coming. Tomorrow. Maybe tonight. When he does, everyone in this fortress dies. Including you. The walls felt like they were closing in. Mirella grabbed her phone, deleted the messages, shoved it under her mattress, tried to think. Running meant death. Baresi's men would find her, kill her, use her body to send Cassian a message. Staying meant death. Either from Baresi's attack or from Cassian when he eventually decided she knew too much. Both options ended the same way. Unless she stopped being a victim and started being a player. She pulled out her phone, opened her contacts, found the number for the facility in Sicily. Her grandmother answered on the 3rd ring, voice weak but clear. "Mirella? Nonna, I need you to tell me the truth. About? About grandfather. About what he did for Cassian's father. Silence. Long enough that Mirella thought the call had dropped. Nonna? Why are you asking this? Because I need to know, please. More silence, then a sigh that carried 40 years of secrets. Your grandfather made a choice, a terrible choice. He saved Giovanni Moretti's life. Her voice cracked. And it cost him everything. What do you mean? The bullet, the one he took. It didn't just wound him, it paralyzed him. He spent the rest of his life in a wheelchair, in pain. And Giovanni Moretti? Her laugh was bitter. He sent money, paid for doctors, but he never came, never apologized, never acknowledged that your grandfather sacrificed everything for him. Mirella's chest tightened. Did grandfather regret it? Every day, until he died, hating the Moretti family and everything they stood for. Then why? Because blood debt doesn't care about regret. It exists. It binds. It passes from generation to generation until someone breaks it. Her grandmother's voice hardened. Is that why you're there, with Giovanni's son? Because of the debt? Mirella couldn't answer, couldn't find words. Mirella! Her grandmother's voice was steel now. Listen to me. Blood debt is a chain, and chains are meant to be broken. Whatever that man has told you, whatever he's promised you, it's a lie. The Morettis don't love, they consume. I know. Then why are you still there? Because I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. Your grandfather had a choice. He chose wrong. Don't make the same mistake. The call ended. Mirella sat there with her phone in her lap and her grandmother's words echoing in her head. Chains are meant to be broken. She stood, moved to the window, watched darkness fall across the Alps. Made a decision. She wasn't running, and she wasn't staying. She was going to break the chain, whatever it took. At 7 there was a knock. Cassian, not the gray-haired woman. Walk with me. Not a request. Never a request. She followed him through corridors, out onto a battlement that overlooked nothing but darkness and wind. He stopped at the edge, hands on stone that had weathered centuries. Something's wrong, tell me. Nothing's wrong. You're lying. He turned. You've been lying since this morning. What happened? I heard you, in the basement. His expression didn't change. Ah. That's all you have to say? Ah? What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry you heard me torture someone? His voice was flat. I'm not. That's what I do. That's what keeps us safe. Us. Yes, us. He stepped closer. You think I enjoy it? You think I like hurting people? I don't know what you like. I don't know anything about you. You know enough. Do I? She met his gaze. Did you kill Sophia? The question landed between them like a grenade. Cassian went very still. Who told you about Sophia? Does it matter? Yes, it matters very much. His voice dropped to something dangerous. Because whoever told you is trying to turn you against me, and I need to know who. Then answer the question. Did you kill her? No. I don't believe you. I don't care if you believe me. It's the truth. Then who did? Baresi. Because she was working for him, passing information, getting my people killed. He grabbed her shoulders. Not hard, desperate. She wasn't innocent, Mirella. She was a traitor. And when I found out, I confronted her. And she ran. Straight to Baresi, who killed her because she'd become a liability to him too. You expect me to believe that? I expect you to use your brain. His fingers tightened. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. I've had 100 opportunities. Why would I bring you here? Why would I protect you? Why would I... He stopped, swallowed hard. Why would I care? I don't know. Maybe you're just better at playing games than she was. His hands dropped. You really think that? I don't know what to think anymore. Then think about this. He moved to the edge again, stared out at nothing. Tomorrow Baresi's coming. I have intelligence that says he's moving a force through the mountains tonight. They'll hit us at dawn, maybe 100 men, maybe more. Her stomach dropped. Then we need to leave. There's nowhere to go. He's watching every road, every airstrip. The moment we move, we're exposed. So we're just going to sit here and wait to die? No, we're going to fight. He looked back at her. And you're going to decide whose side you're on. What? Someone in my organization is feeding Baresi information. Someone close. Someone who knows my security protocols, my safe houses, my movements. His gaze pinned her. Someone who might have told you to run. The air left her lungs. I know. I've been monitoring your phone, the texts, the calls. His smile was sharp. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? Mirella's vision blurred. You've been spying on me. I spy on everyone. It's how I stay alive. He moved closer. But here's what's interesting. The person contacting you, they're using one of my secure servers, which means they're inside my network, inside this fortress. Who? I don't know yet, but I will. His hand came up, cupped her face. The question is whether you're working with them. I'm not. Prove it. How? By staying, by fighting, by showing me that whatever they offered you wasn't enough to make you betray me. I don't owe you loyalty. No, you don't. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. But you owe yourself survival, and the only way you survive tomorrow is with me. Or I run, like they said. Then you die tired, because Baresi's men are already in the woods, already surrounding us. That car they promised you? He smiled. It's a trap. The moment you get in, they'll know, and they'll kill you just to hurt me. The world tilted. You're lying. Am I? He pulled out his phone, showed her a screen. Security footage, a car on a service road, 2 men hiding in the trees nearby, weapons, waiting. Your rescue is an execution, and whoever's been texting you knows it. Mirella's legs gave out. She would have fallen if Cassian hadn't caught her. Why? Her voice broke. Why would they do that? Because you're not the target. I am. And they're using you to draw me out. He pulled her against his chest. Sophia's sister. That's who's been texting you. Her name is Elena. She works in my IT department. Has for 3 years. And she's been waiting for the right moment to destroy me. Then arrest her. Kill her. Whatever you do. I can't. Because the moment I move against her, she'll trigger whatever she's been planning. And everyone in this fortress dies. His arms tightened. So I need her to think she's winning. I need her to believe you're running. I need her to make a mistake. How? Cassian pulled back, looked at her with something that might have been respect. You're going to go to that car. You're going to pretend to run. And when Baresi's men show themselves, my people will be waiting. You want to use me as bait? Yes. I could die. Yes. And you're okay with that? No. The word came out rough, raw. I'm not okay with any of this, but it's the only play we have left. Mirella stared at him, at this man who'd kidnapped her and threatened her and claimed to want her while using her as a piece in a game she'd never consented to play. What if I say no? Then we all die tomorrow, including your grandmother, because the moment Baresi takes me down, he'll kill everyone connected to me, everyone I've protected, everyone I've paid for. His gaze held hers, including her. The words were a knife between her ribs. You bastard! Yes. No apology, no shame. But I'm the bastard keeping you alive, so decide. Run and die. Stay and fight. Or refuse and watch everyone you love burn. It wasn't a choice. It was never a choice. Mirella pulled away from him, walked to the edge of the battlement, looked out at darkness that would swallow her whole if she let it. When? Midnight, just like they said. And if something goes wrong, then I'll kill everyone who touches you. His voice was a promise wrapped in violence. Every single one. She believed him. That was the worst part. She believed every word. Fine, I'll do it. Mirella, don't. She held up a hand. Don't thank me. Don't apologize. Don't pretend this is anything except what it is. You're using me. I'm letting you, because I don't have a choice, because I never had a choice. You did. You do. No, I don't. She turned to face him. And that's what you'll never understand. People like you. People with power. You think giving someone options is the same as giving them freedom, but it's not. Because all my options end with me dead or owned or broken. So I'm choosing the one where maybe, I survive long enough to find a real choice. Cassian's expression fractured. Just for a second. Just long enough for her to see the human underneath. I'm sorry. No, you're not. She walked past him, back toward the fortress. But you will be. The hours until midnight were the longest of her life. Mirella packed light, just necessities, made it look real, like she was actually running. At 11:45, she left her room. The fortress was silent. No guards visible, but she felt them, watching, waiting. She made it outside, into cold that bit through her jacket, into darkness that swallowed everything. The woods were 200 yards away. She ran, not because she wanted to, because Cassian's plan required it, because somewhere in these trees his men were waiting, because this was her role now. Bait. The service road appeared. The car. Exactly where they said. Her hands shook as she reached for the door. Then lights. Everywhere, blinding her. Men emerged from the trees, not 2, 10, 20, more. And none of them were Cassian's. She'd been played. Again, a figure stepped forward. Young, female, dark hair, eyes full of hate. Hello, Mirella. Elena's smile was sharp. Thanks for making this so easy. Mirella's chest seized. Where's Cassian? Dead by now, or dying. We hit the fortress 3 minutes ago. She tilted her head. Did you really think he'd waste his men protecting you? You were always expendable, just like my sister. That's not true. Of course it's true. Elena moved closer. He uses women, destroys them, and when they're no longer useful, he throws them away. Sophia knew too much, just like you. And now you're both going to end the same way. A gun appeared, pointed at Mirella's head. Any last words? Mirella's mind went blank, then sharp. Yes, duck. Elena's expression shifted. What? The gunshot came from nowhere. Elena dropped, blood blooming across her chest. Men emerged from different trees. Cassian's men, real ones. Weapons raised, firing. The ambush became a slaughter. Mirella hit the ground, covered her head, listened to people die around her. When the shooting stopped, someone grabbed her arm. Cassian, bleeding from his shoulder, face covered in ash and blood, but alive. Time to go. The fortress, burning. We need to move. Now. He pulled her toward a vehicle she hadn't seen. Different car, already running. They were inside and moving before her brain caught up. You knew about Elena, about everything. Yes. You used me to draw her out. Yes. People died. Yes. He looked at her. But you didn't. That's what matters. To who? To me. The words sat between them like live grenades. Mirella stared at him. At this man who'd orchestrated everything, who'd put her in danger to save himself, who'd killed dozens of people tonight without blinking, who'd also made sure she survived. I hate you. I know. I'm leaving. The second we're safe, I'm gone. No, you're not. Not a threat, a fact. Because there is no safe anymore. Baresi thinks you're dead. Elena's people think you're dead. The only way you stay that way is with me. That's insane. That's survival. He turned back to the road. Welcome to my world, Mirella. There's no way out. There never was. The car climbed higher into mountains that looked like the end of the world, and Mirella realized with horrible clarity that he was right. She was trapped, not by chains, not by debt, not by obligation, by the simple, brutal fact that staying alive meant staying with him. And the man sitting beside her, bleeding and brutal and broken in ways she was only beginning to understand, was the only thing standing between her and death. She'd become exactly what she'd feared. His, completely. And there was no going back. The point of no return wasn't a place. It was a person, and she'd just crossed it. The car screamed through mountain passes that looked like the edge of creation. Cassian drove one-handed. His right shoulder bled through his shirt, dark patches spreading like ink in water. He didn't slow down, didn't wince, just kept his eyes on the road while hairpin turns came at them like fists. Mirella pressed herself against the door. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Blood on her clothes. Gunpowder residue in her nose. The image of Elena dropping burned into her retinas. Where are we going? Austria. I have a contact there. Someone who owes me. Everyone owes you. Not everyone. His jaw tightened. Just the one still breathing. The road climbed higher. Snow appeared. Then more snow. Until the world was nothing but white and darkness and the sound of the engine pushing past its limits. You're bleeding. I'm aware. You need a hospital. I need distance. He took a corner too fast. The car fishtailed. Recovered. Hospital means questions. Questions mean police. Police mean Baresi finds out we're alive. So you're just going to bleed out? If I do, there's a go bag under your seat. Cash, passport, instructions. His voice was flat, matter of fact. You follow them exactly, you'll make it to Munich. From there you disappear. Mirella's chest tightened. I'm not taking instructions from a dead man. Then help me stay alive. She reached under the seat. Found the bag. Inside was everything he'd said plus a first aid kit. Military grade. The kind that handled bullet wounds. Pull over. No time. Pull over or pass out and crash. Your choice. He pulled over. The shoulder was narrow. Nothing but cliff on one side, mountain on the other. Wind screamed through gaps in the rock. Mirella got out, came around to his side, opened the door. Let me see. Cassian peeled off his jacket. His shirt underneath was soaked. She helped him strip it away. The wound was clean. Through and through. High on the shoulder. Missing bone by inches. You're lucky. I'm never lucky. He watched her open the first aid kit. I'm just good at not dying. She cleaned the wound with antiseptic that made him hiss through his teeth, packed it with gauze, wrapped it tight with bandages that would hold until they found something better. This needs stitches. Later. It needs them now. Later. He grabbed her wrist. Not hard, just enough to stop her. We stay here any longer, we're dead. Baresi's people patrol these roads. They find us. We don't get second chances. She finished the bandaging in silence, helped him back into his jacket, got back in the car. They drove. Hours blurred together. Mountain roads became valleys. Valleys became forests. Dawn broke somewhere over peaks she couldn't name, painting snow gold and pink like the world wasn't actively trying to kill them. Her phone had been buzzing for miles. She'd been ignoring it. Finally, she checked. 23 missed calls, 15 voicemails, all from the same number. The facility in Sicily. Her stomach dropped. I need to call them back. Cassian didn't argue, just kept driving while she dialed with numb fingers. The nurse answered immediately. Miss Russo, thank God, we've been trying to reach you for hours. What happened? Your grandmother. She had an episode last night. Heart failure. We stabilized her, but... The nurse's voice cracked. She's asking for you. You should come. Soon. The world tilted. How soon? Days. Maybe less. Mirella's vision blurred. I can't. I'm not in Italy. I can't. I understand. But she's insistent. She says she needs to see you, that she has something to tell you before... The nurse couldn't finish, before she dies. Tell her I'm coming. Tell her to hold on. I will. But Miss Russo, What? She knows about where you are, who you're with. A pause. She says to tell you it's time to break the chain. The line went dead. Mirella sat there with her phone in her lap and her grandmother's words echoing through her skull. Break the chain. What happened? Cassian's voice was careful, controlled. My grandmother. She's dying. I know. You know. Not a question, an accusation. I got the same call 20 minutes ago. He didn't look at her. I was going to tell you when we stopped. When were we going to stop? When it was safe. It's never safe. You said so yourself. She turned to face him. You were never going to tell me. You were going to let her die without me saying goodbye. I was going to give you a choice. What choice? Sicily or survival. You can't have both. The words landed like a punch. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. He finally looked at her. But those are the options. We go to Sicily, Baresi finds us. He kills us both. Your grandmother watches you die. Is that what you want? I want you to stop making me choose between impossible things. Then you're going to be disappointed. Because that's all there is now, impossible choices. He turned back to the road. I'll take you to Sicily if that's what you want. I'll put you on a plane. I'll make sure you get there. But I can't protect you once you land. And when Baresi's men find you, and they will find you, they'll torture you for information about me. Then they'll kill you, slowly, and they'll make sure your grandmother hears every scream. Mirella's hands clenched. You're a monster. I'm honest. There's a difference. Is there? You tell me. Would you rather I lie? Tell you everything's going to be fine, that you can have your goodbye and your safety? His voice hardened. I'm giving you reality. What you do with it is your choice. She wanted to scream, wanted to hit him, wanted to do anything except sit there and accept that he was right, because he was right. Going to Sicily meant death. Staying meant living with the fact that her grandmother would die alone because Mirella had chosen a monster over family. There has to be another way. There isn't. Then make one. You're supposed to be this criminal mastermind, this genius who controls half of Europe. Figure it out. Cassian's jaw tightened. You think I haven't tried? You think I want this? I don't know what you want. You've never told me the truth about anything. I want you alive. The words came out harsh, raw. That's the truth. That's the only truth that matters. And if keeping you alive means your grandmother dies without you there, then that's what happens. That's not your choice to make. Yes, it is. He looked at her. Because you're mine, and I protect what's mine, even when you hate me for it. The car 8 miles. Austria appeared through fog. A border crossing that Cassian navigated with fake documents that looked real enough to fool the guard who barely glanced at them. They stopped at a safe house outside Innsbruck. Stone cottage that looked abandoned. Wasn't. Inside was heat, running water. A phone on the wall that Cassian used to make calls in German she couldn't follow. When he hung up, his face was grim. What? Baresi knows we're alive. Someone survived the fortress. Talked before they died. He moved to the window. Checked the perimeter. He's putting a bounty on us. 5 million euros each. That's 10 million total. Enough to make everyone we've ever met reconsider their loyalty. He turned. We have maybe 24 hours before someone sells us out. Then what? Then we stop running and start fighting. With what army? Your fortress is gone. Your men are dead or scattered. We're 2 people against everything. I know. He smiled. It was sharp, dangerous. Which is why we're going to do something stupid. How stupid? We're going to walk into Baresi's territory and kill him. Mirella's laugh came out broken. That's suicide. Probably, but it's better than waiting for him to find us. Cassian moved closer. He's in Florence. Has been for 3 days, consolidating power, taking over my businesses. He thinks he's won. He has won. Not yet, not until we're dead. His hand found her face. I need you to trust me. One more time. Can you do that? No. Then pretend. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Because this only works if you're with me. Why do you need me? Because Baresi wants to see you. Wants proof you're alive so he can kill you himself. His voice dropped. You're going to give him that proof. And while he's distracted by you, I'm going to put a bullet in his head. Her breath caught. You're using me as bait. Again. Yes. I could die. Again. Yes. And you're okay with that? No. I'm desperate. His forehead pressed against hers. I'm out of options. Out of allies. Out of everything except you and this plan and the gun in my pocket. So I'm asking, will you help me? She should say no, should run, should choose anything except walking into death with a man who destroyed her life. But her grandmother was dying. Baresi would hunt her forever. And the only way this ended was with him dead or her dead. At least this way she had a choice in how it happened. What do I have to do? Cassian's relief was palpable. First, we need to make you look the part. The part was expensive. Designer dress, emerald green, cut to her body like it was made for her. Heels that added 3 inches. Jewelry that probably cost more than a house. Hair and makeup done by a woman who showed up at the safe house with a kit and no questions. When Mirella looked in the mirror, she didn't recognize herself. This woman looked powerful, dangerous, like she belonged in rooms where empires rose and fell, like she belonged beside Cassian. Good. He stood behind her, back in a suit, shoulder bandaged beneath it, looking like death dressed in Tom Ford. You look like you could destroy me. I wish I could. Maybe you will. After tonight. He handed her a clutch purse. Small, elegant, heavy. There's a gun inside, 9mm, safety's on. You know how to use it? No. Then don't touch it unless I'm dead and you have no other choice. His hands settled on her shoulders. Tonight, you're my date, my companion, the woman I couldn't let go. Baresi wants a show. We're going to give him one. And then? Then we see if we survive. The drive to Florence took 3 hours. Cassian spent it making calls, calling in favors, arranging things Mirella couldn't follow, speaking in codes that meant nothing and everything. When they hit the city limits, he pulled over, made one final call. It's me. Are they ready? Good. We're 5 minutes out. I know the risks. Do it anyway. If this goes wrong, make sure she gets to Munich. The account I set up, everything she needs. Because I'm asking. He hung up, looked at her. Last chance to back out. Where would I go? Anywhere. I'll put you on a train, give you money. You disappear. And my grandmother? Dee's thinking you abandoned her, but alive. His gaze held hers. It's not a good choice, but it's a choice. Mirella thought about Sicily, about the woman who'd raised her, about blood debt and chains and the weight of obligation that had pulled her into this life. Thought about breaking free. Thought about what that would cost. Drive. Cassian didn't argue, just started the car and drove them toward whatever ending waited. The restaurant was the same one from months ago, where this had started. Private dining rooms, expensive wine, criminals pretending to be civilized. Cassian pulled up to valet, got out, came around to open her door. His hand found the small of her back. Possessive. Claiming. Stay close, don't speak unless spoken to. If shooting starts, get down and stay down. Comforting. I'm not here to comfort you, I'm here to keep you alive. Inside was candlelight and murmured conversations. People turned to look. Whispers followed them like ghosts. They knew. Everyone knew. The man who'd lost everything. The woman who'd survived, walking into the lion's den like they had nothing to lose. Maybe they didn't. The maitre d' led them upstairs, to the same private room, the same table. Like the universe had a sick sense of humor. Baresi waited inside, older than Cassian, 50s, silver hair, expensive suit, eyes like a shark. Cassian, he stood. I didn't believe it when they said you'd come. I thought you were smarter than this. I wanted to see the man who burned my life down. Cassian's voice was cold, calm. Put a face to the name. And now you have. Was it worth it? Ask me in 10 minutes. Baresi's laugh was sharp. Still arrogant, even at the end. His gaze slid to Mirella, and this must be the famous translator, the woman worth burning an empire for. Mirella didn't respond, just stood there with Cassian's hand on her back and murder in her peripheral vision. Sit, both of you. Let's be civilized about this. Baresi gestured to chairs. After all, we're businessmen. We can discuss terms. There are no terms. Cassian pulled out a chair for Mirella. She sat. He took the one beside her. I'm here to kill you. You're here to try to kill me first. Everything else is theater. So direct. I appreciate that. Baresi poured wine. 3 glasses. But humor me. Before we get to the killing, I want to know why. Why what? Why her? Why this woman who means nothing, who has no power, no connections, no value except what you've given her? His gaze was surgical. What makes her worth dying for? Cassian's hand found Mirella's under the table, squeezed once. She reminded me I'm human. That's it? Sentiment? Baresi shook his head. I expected more from you. then you don't understand what it's like to spend 15 years being a monster. To wake up every day knowing people fear you, hate you, want you dead. His voice dropped. She looked at me like I was a man, not a king, not a killer, just a man, and I couldn't walk away from that. Mirella's breath caught, because she heard it, the truth underneath the performance, the raw honesty that he'd never spoken before. He meant it, every word. Baresi studied them both. Touching, really. But it doesn't change anything. He set down his glass. You're going to die tonight, both of you. The only question is whether it's quick or slow. There's a third option, which is you die instead. Baresi's smile vanished. You think you can kill me? Here, in my territory, with my men surrounding this building? I think I can try. Movement. Fast. Cassian's hand came up with a gun. Baresi's men emerged from shadows. 4 of them, weapons drawn, stalemate. Predictable. Baresi didn't move. Did you really think I wouldn't search you? That I'd let you walk in here armed? I counted on it. Cassian's gun didn't waver. Which is why the real weapon isn't the gun. Then what is it? Her. Mirella's heart stopped. Cassian looked at her. The clutch. Now. She fumbled for it, hands shaking, pulled out the gun he'd given her. Pointed at him. She did. The gun was heavier than she expected. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Baresi's expression shifted. Calculation. Reassessment. She won't shoot. Look at her. She's terrified. She is. But she'll shoot anyway. Cassian's voice was absolute. Because I asked her to, and because she understands that this is the only way we survive. You're bluffing. Try me. Silence stretched. 5 guns, 7 people. 1 wrong move, and everyone died. Baresi spoke first. What do you want? You. Dead. Your organization destroyed. Everything you've built turned to ash. That's not negotiation. That's fantasy. Then let's negotiate. Cassian lowered his gun. Slightly. You let us walk out of here. You stop hunting us. You forget we exist. And in return, I disappear. Give up everything. Every territory, every route, every dollar. You win completely, totally. Why would I agree to that when I can just kill you now? Because killing me makes me a martyr. My people will never stop coming for you. But if I walk away? If I choose her over the Empire? Cassian smiled. Then I'm just a man who lost. And men who lose don't inspire loyalty. They inspire contempt. Baresi considered. You'd really walk away? Give up everything you've built? For her? Yes. Mirella's chest tightened. She wanted to believe him, wanted to think he meant it, but she'd seen him lie too many times. I don't believe you. I don't care if you believe me. I'm offering you everything you've ever wanted without a fight. Are you smart enough to take it? The room held its breath. Then Baresi laughed. You're good. I'll give you that. You almost had me. He gestured to his men. Kill them both. Everything happened at once. Cassian's gun came up, fired. Baresi dropped. His men returned fire. Bullets shredded the room. Mirella hit the floor. The gun fell from her hands. Cassian was moving. Always moving, firing with surgical precision. Bodies dropped. But there were too many. He took a bullet to the leg. Went down hard. Mirella screamed. The remaining men advanced, 2 of them, weapons trained on Cassian's head. She didn't think, just grabbed the gun from the floor, raised it, pulled the trigger. Nothing. Safety. The safety was still on. Her fingers fumbled, found the switch, flicked it, raised the gun again, fired. The recoil nearly broke her wrist. The shot went wide, hit the wall. But it was enough. The men turned toward her, and Cassian used those 2 seconds to fire twice more. They dropped. Silence. Except for ringing ears and labored breathing and the smell of gunpowder thick enough to choke on. Cassian dragged himself upright. Blood poured from his leg. You okay? I shot at someone. I saw. Your aim's terrible. I saved your life. I know. He limped toward her, pulled her up. Time to go. Now. They stumbled out of the room, downstairs, past staff who scattered like birds, out into Florence streets that were too bright and too loud and too real. A car waited. Not the one they'd arrived in. Different. Engine running. The driver was familiar. The older guard from the fortress. Scarred jaw, loyal eyes. Get in. They did. The car screamed away from the restaurant, away from bodies, away from everything. How bad? The driver's eyes found Cassian in the rear view. Bad enough. How many did we lose? 3. But Barezi's entire inner circle is dead. His warehouses are burning. His accounts are frozen. A pause. It's over. It's never over. Close enough. They drove to a private airfield, another jet, already fueled, already cleared for takeoff. The driver helped them aboard. Where to? Cassian looked at Mirella. Sicily. Her heart stopped. What? Your grandmother. You're going to see her. He collapsed into a seat. I made a promise. I keep my promises. But Barezi is dead. His organization's in chaos. We have maybe 12 hours before someone else takes control. Plenty of time. You're insane. You're bleeding. You need a hospital. I need a drink and a painkiller. I'll live. He closed his eyes. Go. Say goodbye. Break the chain. The plane took off. Mirella sat across from him and watched him fade in and out of consciousness while pressure bandages slowly turned red. Why? She finally asked. Why what? Why are you doing this? Why Sicily? Why now? Cassian opened his eyes. Because I'm tired of taking everything from you. Because you deserve something that isn't painted in blood. He swallowed hard. Because I love you. And love means letting you have the things I can't give. The words hit like bullets. You don't love me. You don't know how. I don't. You're right. His smile was broken. But I'm learning. And this is what I've learned. Love looks like getting you to your grandmother before she dies. Even if it kills me. Even if we don't make it. Tears burned behind Mirella's eyes. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. Because I don't want you to die. Why not? You hate me. I do. The words came out choked. But I don't want you dead. That's close enough. His eyes closed again. Wake me when we land. They landed in Palermo as dawn broke. Cassian could barely walk. Mirella helped him down the stairs, into a car, to the hospital. Her grandmother's room was on the 4th floor. Mirella ran, left Cassian in the car because he couldn't keep up. Couldn't do anything except bleed and breathe and hope he'd bought her enough time. The room was quiet. Machines beeped softly. Her grandmother looked impossibly small in the bed, fragile, fading. But her eyes opened when Mirella entered. Piccola. I'm here, Nonna. I'm here. I know. I knew you'd come. Her hand reached out. Mirella took it. The Moretti boy. Is he? Outside. He brought me here. Good. That's good. Her grandmother's grip tightened, weak but determined. Listen, I don't have much time, and you need to hear this. Nonna, don't? The debt. The blood debt. Your grandfather made me promise to never tell you, but you need to know. She coughed. It was a lie. Mirella's world stopped. What? Your grandfather. He didn't save Giovanni Moretti out of honor. He saved him because Giovanni paid him to take that bullet, to create a debt that would bind our families forever. Her voice cracked. It was all arranged, all planned. Your grandfather sold us for money, and that money is long gone. I don't understand. The debt isn't real. It never was. It was a business transaction that Giovanni turned into leverage, into power. Her grip tightened. You don't owe them anything. You never did. The room spun. But Cassian said, Cassian doesn't know. Giovanni kept it secret, took it to his grave. The only people who knew were your grandfather and me. She pulled Mirella closer. You're free, Piccola. You always were. The chain was never real. Mirella couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Everything. Everything was built on a lie. Does Cassian? No. And you need to tell him. Need to show him that whatever he thinks he owes you, whatever he thinks bound you together, it was false. Her grandmother's eyes held hers. But first you need to decide. Do you stay because you have to, or because you want to? The question hung in the air. Mirella thought about months of captivity, of being used, of violence and blood and choices that weren't choices. Thought about Cassian's hands on her face, his voice saying he loved her, his body taking bullets to get her here. Thought about freedom, real freedom, and what it might cost. I don't know. Then figure it out, before it's too late. Her grandmother's breathing changed, slower, shallower, before you become like them, like all of us who let chains define us. Nonna, I love you, Piccola. I always did. More than debt, more than honor, more than everything. Her eyes drifted closed. Now go. Go and choose, and whatever you choose, don't look back. The machine's rhythm changed, slowed, stopped. Mirella stood there holding her grandmother's hand while nurses rushed in and tried to restart a heart that had decided it was finished. They called it after 15 minutes. Time of death? 6:47 a.m. Mirella walked out of that hospital room a different person than she'd walked in. Lighter, freer, and more lost than she'd ever been. Because the chain was broken, and now she had to decide what to build in its place. Cassian was still in the car, barely conscious. The driver had gotten him bandaged, but he needed real medical attention. Mirella climbed in beside him. She's gone. I'm sorry. Don't be. She looked at him. At this man who'd destroyed her life and saved it and claimed to love her without knowing how. We need to talk. Later, when I'm not dying. Now. She grabbed his face, made him look at her. The debt, the blood debt between our families, it's not real. His eyes focused. What? My grandfather lied. Your father lied. It was arranged, a transaction, not honor, not obligation, just money and leverage. Cassian stared at her, processing, understanding dawning. You're saying, I'm saying I don't owe you anything. Never did. Everything you thought bound us together was a lie. She swallowed hard, which means everything that happens next is a choice, my choice. And what do you choose? The question sat between them like a live grenade. Mirella thought about running, about taking the money he'd given her and disappearing, about building a life somewhere he'd never find her, thought about staying, about this broken, violent, impossible man who'd learned to love by nearly dying for her. Thought about what love looked like when it was real, when it was chosen, when it wasn't wrapped in chains. I choose. The car exploded. Not theirs. The one behind them. Fire and metal and screams. The driver shouted something in Italian, gunned the engine. More explosions. The airfield erupting in chaos. Someone found us, Cassian said. His voice was fading. Someone always finds us. Then we run. Where? We're out of places. Mirella looked at him, at his blood-soaked clothes and his dimming eyes and the fact that he was still breathing despite everything trying to kill him. Made a decision. We don't run. We fight. With what? With everything we have left. She grabbed the gun from earlier, checked the clip. With each other. Cassian's smile was broken, beautiful. That's my girl. I'm not your girl. Not yet. He pulled out his phone, made a call with shaking fingers. But you could be, if we survive. And if we don't, then we die together, which is more than most people get. The car screamed through Palermo streets. Behind them, vehicles gave chase. Ahead, roadblocks appeared. They were surrounded. Cassian ended the call. Help's coming. We just have to last 5 minutes. 5 minutes against how many? 20, maybe 30. Those are terrible odds. I've had worse. He checked his gun. 3 bullets left. Stay low. When I say run, you run. Don't look back. I'm not leaving you. Yes, you are. Because this isn't your fight anymore. His hand found her face. The chain's broken. You're free. So be free. I choose you. What? That's my choice. I choose you. Not because I have to. Because I want to. Tears streamed down her face. So stop trying to save me and let me save you back. Cassian stared at her. Something in his expression cracked. The armor, the control, all of it falling away until there was just a man, bloodied, broken, human. Okay, his voice was raw. Okay, we do this together. The car stopped. Forced off the road by vehicles blocking every exit, they were trapped. Men emerged. Dozens, all armed, all advancing. Cassian and Mirella got out. Back to back. His 3 bullets. Her shaking hands. Against an army. Any last words? She asked. Just one. He looked at her. Don't die. Same to you. The men advanced, and somewhere in the distance, sirens, helicopters. The cavalry Cassian had called. 5 minutes. They just needed 5 minutes. The shooting started, and Mirella stopped being a victim. She raised her gun, aimed, fired. This time her aim was better. This time she didn't miss. This time she fought. For him, for herself. For the choice she'd finally made. And when the 5 minutes ended and help arrived and the smoke cleared, they were still standing, bloodied, broken, but standing together. And as Cassian collapsed into her arms and she held him while medics swarmed and the war finally ended, Mirella realized something. She hadn't just survived, she'd chosen to live. And that made all the difference. The hospital in Palermo smelled like disinfectant and death. Mirella sat in a plastic chair outside the operating room with blood under her fingernails and gunpowder residue still in her nose. 3 hours since the shooting stopped. 3 hours since they'd wheeled Cassian through doors that swung shut behind him like a verdict. The doctors hadn't said much, just took one look at him and started shouting orders. Bullet wounds, blood loss, shock, words that blurred together into a single truth. He might not make it. She stared at her hands. They'd stopped shaking an hour ago. Now they just felt numb, empty, like they belonged to someone else. A nurse appeared, young, exhausted. Miss Russo? Mirella stood, her legs barely held her. Is he stable, for now? The surgery went well, but he lost a lot of blood. The next 24 hours will tell us if... She paused, chose her words carefully. If he's strong enough. Can I see him? Not yet. He's in recovery, unconscious. It'll be hours before he wakes. The nurse's expression softened. You should go home. Rest. We'll call if anything changes. I don't have a home. The words came out flat. True. Because the villa was gone. The fortress was gone. Everything Cassian had built was either burning or seized by authorities who'd descended like vultures the moment the shooting stopped. The nurse didn't know what to say to that, just nodded and disappeared back through the doors. Mirella sat down again, stared at nothing, thought about the last thing her grandmother had said. Choose. And whatever you choose, don't look back. She'd chosen. In the car, in the middle of chaos, she'd chosen him. But sitting here in fluorescent light with police sirens still echoing outside, she wondered if she'd chosen wrong. Footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. She looked up. The older guard. The one with the scarred jaw who'd driven them from Florence. He looked like he'd been through a war. Maybe he had. You're still here. Where else would I go? He sat down beside her. Didn't speak for a long moment. Just stared at the same doors she'd been staring at. He's gonna live, he finally said. Boss is too stubborn to die. You don't know that. I've known him 15 years, watched him survive things that should have killed him a dozen times over. He pulled out a cigarette, didn't light it, just rolled it between his fingers. He'll live. Question is, what happens after? What do you mean? I mean, the empire's gone. Baresi's people scattered. The ones who didn't scatter got arrested. The authorities have enough evidence to put away half of Europe's criminal elite. He looked at her. Including anyone associated with Cassian. Her stomach dropped. They're coming for him. Eventually. Right now they're too busy cleaning up the mess, but once the dust settles? He shrugged. He'll be looking at life in prison, if he's lucky. And if he's not lucky? Someone will kill him before he ever sees trial. Too many people want him dead. Too many loose ends. Mirella's chest tightened. So he survived surgery just to die in a cell or at the end of a knife. Maybe, or maybe he disappears. The guard finally met her eyes. That's why I'm here. To give you a choice. What choice? He pulled out an envelope. Plain, unmarked. Passport, new identity, bank account in Switzerland with enough money to live comfortably for the rest of your life. Instructions on how to disappear so thoroughly that no one ever finds you. She stared at the envelope like it was a bomb. Why? Because Boss made me promise. Before the surgery. He said if he didn't make it, I was to give you this. Let you go. His voice roughened. And if he did make it, I was still supposed to give it to you. Because you deserve the choice. He wants me to leave. He wants you to be free. The guard set the envelope on her lap. He spent months taking your freedom. This is him giving it back. Mirella picked up the envelope. It was heavier than it looked. Inside was everything he'd promised. A future. Clean. Safe. Hers. All she had to do was walk away. What about you? She asked. What happens to his people? We scatter. Some will disappear like you. Some will find new bosses. Some will end up dead or in prison. He stood. But that's not your problem anymore. You don't owe us anything. You never did. He walked away before she could respond, left her sitting there with an envelope full of freedom and a choice that felt like drowning. She could leave. Right now. Walk out of this hospital and never look back. Build a life somewhere Cassian's world couldn't touch her. Safe. Anonymous. Free. Or she could stay. Wait for him to wake up. Face whatever came next together. The smart choice was obvious. The right choice was harder. Hours passed. The sun set. Visiting hours ended, but nobody made her leave. Maybe they forgot she was there. Maybe they didn't care. Around midnight, the nurse reappeared. He's awake. Asking for you. Mirella's heart stuttered. Can I? 5 minutes. He needs rest. She followed the nurse through doors that felt like crossing a threshold. Into recovery. Past other beds with other broken people. To the last one in the corner. Cassian looked small. That was the first thing she noticed. Without the suits and the swagger and the armor of power, he just looked like a man. Pale. Bandaged. Tubes and wires connecting him to machines that beeped steadily. But his eyes opened when she approached. Focused. Clear. You're still here. Where else would I be? Gone? Smart people run from burning buildings. His voice was rough, damaged. You're smarter than most. Apparently not smart enough. She pulled a chair close, sat. Your man gave me the envelope. Good. It's a lot of money. It's not enough. Nothing would be enough. He tried to shift, winced. But it's a start. New identity, new life. Everything you need to disappear. Why? Why what? Why give me this? Why now? She held up the envelope. You spent months telling me I was yours, that you'd never let me go. Now you're handing me freedom on a silver platter. Cassian's gaze held hers. Because I was wrong about all of it. The debt, the obligation, the chains I wrapped around you. He swallowed hard. Your grandmother was right. The debt was fake, which means everything I did to you was built on a lie. Not everything. Most of it. His hand moved slightly, reaching. She took it without thinking. I convinced myself I was honoring my father's promise, protecting you. But I was just taking, the way I've always taken, and I'm tired of taking from you. So you're giving me money and telling me to leave. I'm giving you a choice, a real one. Not the impossible ones I've been forcing on you. His fingers tightened around hers. If you stay because you want to. Not because you owe me. Not because you're afraid. Not because some fake blood debt says you have to, just because you want to. And if I leave, then you leave, and I never contact you again, never look for you, never drag you back into this. His voice cracked. You get to be free, actually free, the way you should have been from the beginning. Tears burned behind her eyes. You almost died. I know. Multiple times, because of me, because of choices I made. Not you. He tried to sit up, failed. Don't take that guilt. Don't carry it. I did this to myself, all of it. You were just caught in the blast. I killed people. The words came out broken, because it was true. In that final firefight, she'd pulled the trigger, had watched men drop, had become exactly what she'd feared, a monster. Yes, you did. Cassian didn't flinch from it. And you'll carry that forever. That's the cost of survival in my world. But you don't have to stay in my world. You can leave, build something better. What about you? I'm going to prison, or I'm going to die. Those are my options. He said it without self-pity, just fact. But you don't have to watch it happen. You don't have to be there when it ends. What if I want to be? The question hung between them. Cassian stared at her. Why would you want that? Because I'm tired of running. Because I'm tired of being afraid. Because... She stopped, swallowed. Because when I thought you were going to die, I realized something. What? That I don't know how to be free without you anymore. That you broke me so thoroughly that I can't remember what I was before. The tears finally fell. That I might actually love you, and I hate myself for it. Cassian's expression fractured. Don't love me. I'm not worth it. I know. That's what makes it worse. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. You're a criminal, a killer. You've destroyed lives and built an empire on suffering. You kidnapped me, threatened me, used me, and I should hate you completely. But you also saved my grandmother, brought me to her when she was dying, took bullets trying to protect me. And when you had the chance to chain me to you forever, you gave me the key instead. She held up the envelope. So I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to hate someone who keeps giving me reasons not to. Then hate me for making you love me. That's reason enough. It should be, but it's not. She set the envelope on the table beside his bed. I'm not leaving. Mirella, I'm not leaving. Not yet. Not until I know you're going to survive this. She leaned forward. And then I'll decide. But it'll be my decision, my choice, not yours. You're making a mistake. Probably, but it's my mistake to make. She squeezed his hand. You spent months taking my choices. Now I'm taking this one. Deal with it. His smile was broken. You're stubborn. I learned from the best. The nurse appeared in the doorway. Time's up. He needs rest. Mirella stood, started to pull her hand away. Cassian held on. Thank you. For what? For staying, even when you shouldn't. His eyes closed, even when I don't deserve it. She left him there, went back to the plastic chair, tried to sleep and couldn't. The envelope sat in her pocket like a promise, like a future she could have if she just walked away. But she didn't walk away. The days blurred together. Cassian improved slowly. Out of critical care, into a regular room, physical therapy to relearn how to walk without his leg collapsing. The doctors said he was lucky. The bullets had missed major arteries by millimeters. Luck. Or just stubbornness refusing to die. Mirella visited every day, brought him food that wasn't hospital garbage, books he didn't read, her presence when words felt impossible. They didn't talk about the future, didn't discuss what came next, just existed in the strange limbo of hospital rooms and recovery and the outside world slowly closing in. On the 5th day, the police came. 2 detectives. Italian. Serious. They questioned Cassian for 3 hours with lawyers present that Mirella didn't know he'd arranged. When they left, his face was grim. They have enough to charge me. Multiple counts, racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder. He stared at the ceiling. I'll be arraigned as soon as I'm discharged. Can you fight it? I could try, spend years in court, burn through whatever money I have left. He looked at her. Or I could plead guilty. Take whatever deal they offer, serve my time. How much time? 20 years. Maybe more. Maybe less with good behavior and expensive lawyers. His smile was sharp. Either way, I'll be old when I get out. If I get out. Mirella's chest tightened. There has to be another way. There isn't. Not anymore. My empire's gone. My allies are scattered or dead. I'm just a man in a hospital bed waiting for the justice system to finish what Baresi started. Then disappear. Use that envelope. Create a new identity. Run. With what body? I can barely walk to the bathroom. He gestured to his bandaged leg. And even if I could run, where would I go? Every intelligence agency in Europe has my picture, my fingerprints, my DNA. I'm done running. So you're just giving up? I'm accepting consequences. His gaze held hers. Something I should have done years ago, before I dragged you into this. She wanted to argue, wanted to find some loophole or escape or miracle, but she'd seen the evidence the police carried out. Boxes of it, financial records, witness statements, recordings she didn't know existed. He was right. It was over. What about me? The question came out small, scared. What happens to me when they take you away? You use the envelope. You disappear. You build the life you were supposed to have before I destroyed it. And if I don't want to disappear, then you're an idiot. No cruelty, just honesty. Because everyone associated with me is a target. The police will question you. Baresi's remaining people will hunt you. And even if you survive all that, you'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. I've been doing that for months. I'm used to it. You shouldn't have to be used to it. You should be free. He reached for her hand. Please, for once, listen to me. Take the money. Disappear. Let me do this one good thing. It's not good if I don't want it. Then want it. Choose it. Choose yourself for once instead of... He stopped. Swallowed hard. Instead of me. The words broke something in her. Because he was right. She'd been choosing him over herself since that first night at Casanero. Every decision, every compromise, every moment of staying when she should have run. She'd lost herself somewhere in the chaos, and maybe it was time to find her again. Okay? Cassian's eyes widened. Okay? I'll go. I'll use the envelope. I'll disappear. The words tasted like ash. But not yet. Not until... Until what? Until they take you away. Until I know you're going to survive prison. Until I can say goodbye properly. That's my condition. Take it or I stay forever and make both our lives miserable. His laugh was broken. You drive a hard bargain. I learned from the best. 2 weeks later, they discharged him. Straight into police custody, handcuffs, transport van. Arraignment scheduled for the following morning. Mirella watched them take him away. Stood in the hospital parking lot with winter sun cutting through clouds and her heart trying to climb out of her throat. The envelope was in her bag. Passport, money, instructions, everything she needed to vanish. She'd memorized it all, the account numbers, the contact information, the safe houses scattered across 3 continents. Cassian had planned for everything, except her staying. The arraignment was closed to the public, but Mirella knew someone who could get her in. The older guard, still loyal despite everything falling apart. She sat in the back row. Watched Cassian stand before a judge in an orange jumpsuit. Watched him plead guilty to charges that would bury him for decades. Watched the judge accept the plea and set sentencing for 6 weeks out. No trial, no fighting, just acceptance. He looked at her once. Just once. From across the courtroom. Their eyes met. He mouthed something, 2 words. Go, please. She didn't respond. Just stood and left before they took him back to holding. Outside, the city continued like nothing had happened. People walking, cars honking, life moving forward without acknowledging that hers had just stopped. She went back to the safe house, the stone cottage in Austria where they'd hidden after the fortress burned. Nobody had found it yet. Nobody would. She packed. Not much. Just essentials. The envelope's instructions were clear. Small luggage, nothing memorable. Blend in. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Miss Russo. A woman's voice. Professional. Clipped. My name is Diana Marchesi. I'm an attorney. I represent Cassian Moretti. I don't need a lawyer. I'm not calling to represent you. I'm calling because my client left instructions. In the event of his arrest, I was to contact you with information. Mirella's chest tightened. What information? He's established a trust in your name, separate from the account you already know about. This trust pays out monthly, enough to live comfortably without working. It's yours. No conditions, no strings. I don't want his money. It's not his money. It's yours. Legally, irrevocably. The trust is structured so that even if he dies or the authorities seize everything else, this remains yours. A pause. He wanted you taken care of, regardless of what happens between you. There is no between us. It's over. Is it? The lawyer's voice softened slightly. Because from where I'm standing, a man doesn't set up ironclad trusts for people who mean nothing to him. He's serving 20 plus years. What we had doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't it? He seems to think it does. He's asked that I deliver messages, quarterly, if you want them. I don't. Then I won't. But the trust remains. Use it. Don't use it. That's your choice. But know that it exists. That he made sure you'd be okay, even when he couldn't be there to ensure it himself. The line went dead. Mirella sat there, staring at her phone. Another chain, wrapped in money and good intentions. Another way he was trying to take care of her from a distance. She should refuse it. Should make them give the money to charity. Should cut every tie and walk away clean. But the truth was, she was tired. Tired of running. Tired of surviving on nothing. Tired of pretending she didn't need help. So she kept the trust, activated the account, and hated herself a little for it. The months that followed were strange. She disappeared, used the new identity, moved to a small city in Germany where nobody knew her and nobody asked questions, rented an apartment with old hardwood floors and windows that overlooked a quiet street, got a job in a bookstore because she needed something to do with her hands, something normal, something that didn't involve violence or lies or making impossible choices. The trust paid out like clockwork. She barely touched it. Just let it accumulate while she lived off her bookstore wages and tried to remember what peace felt like. It felt like nothing. That was the problem. Peace felt like absence, like the space where chaos used to be. She didn't know how to exist in that space. At night she dreamed of gunfire, of Cassian bleeding, of her grandmother's last words. She'd wake up sweating and disoriented and reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. The lawyer's messages came quarterly. She'd kept one. Just one. Couldn't help herself. You're safe. That's all that matters. Be happy, even if it's without me. Especially if it's without me. She read it once, then deleted it, then recovered it from deleted messages 3 days later because she was weak. 6 months passed, then 8, then 10. She learned German, made friends with the woman who owned the bookstore. Started going to a small cafe every morning for coffee and a pastry. Built a routine that looked like a life. But it wasn't her life. It was a performance, a role she played to convince herself she was healing when really she was just existing. The summons came on a Tuesday. Official letterhead, Italian court system. Request for her presence at Cassian's sentencing hearing. As a character witness, she stared at it for 3 days, trying to decide. Going meant seeing him again, meant dragging herself back into that world, meant risking everything she'd built in the last 10 months. Not going meant he'd face sentencing alone, meant he'd think she'd moved on completely, meant the door closed forever. She went to the hearing. The courtroom was different this time. Bigger. More people. Press in the back. Victims who'd been affected by his crimes. Prosecutors with evidence stacked higher than seemed possible. And Cassian. At a table with his lawyers, looking thinner, grayer, like prison had aged him 5 years and 10 months. He didn't see her at first. She'd chosen a seat far back, hidden behind other spectators. The proceedings started. Prosecutors outlined his crimes in excruciating detail: money laundering, extortion, conspiracy. On and on until the scope of what he'd built became clear. An empire, a real one, worth billions, built on suffering. Then the victims spoke. Business owners he'd extorted. Families of people who died in territorial disputes. Women like Sophia who'd trusted him and paid with their lives. Mirella listened to all of it, felt herself shrinking with each testimony, with each life he'd destroyed. This was who she'd loved, who she'd chosen, who she'd killed for. A monster wrapped in expensive suits and gentle hands. When the victim testimonies ended, the judge called for character witnesses. His lawyers called 3 people: business associates who testified about his charitable donations, his contributions to communities, the legitimate businesses he'd run alongside the criminal ones. It rang hollow. Everyone in that courtroom knew it. Then his lead lawyer stood. Your Honor, we have one final witness, Miss Mirella Russo. The courtroom went silent. Cassian's head snapped up, found her in the crowd. His expression was pure shock. Then something else. Fear. He shook his head slightly. No, don't. But she was already standing, already moving to the witness stand, already committed. The bailiff swore her in, The judge asked her to state her relationship to the defendant. I was his translator, his companion, his... She stopped. What was she? His prisoner, at first. Later something else. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. The prosecutor stood. Miss Russo, you're aware that the defendant stands accused of multiple crimes, including human trafficking. Did he traffic you? No, he gave me a choice. I took it. A choice made under duress is not a choice. I'm aware, but it was still mine. She looked at Cassian. He's a criminal. He's done terrible things, built an empire on pain and fear, and I'm not here to deny any of that. Then why are you here? Because everyone else who testified talked about what he took from them, what he destroyed, and they're right. He destroyed a lot, including parts of me I'll never get back. Her voice steadied. But he also saved my grandmother, gave her care that let her die with dignity. He protected me when he didn't have to, taught me how to survive in a world that wanted me dead. And when he had the chance to chain me to him forever, he let me go. That doesn't excuse us. I'm not excusing anything. I'm just telling you what I saw. A man who did monstrous things but was capable of humanity when it mattered. She swallowed hard. And I think that matters. Not legally. Maybe not morally. But it matters. Miss Russo, do you believe the defendant deserves leniency? I believe he deserves truth. And the truth is he's going to die in prison either from age or from someone with a grudge and a shank. So leniency won't change his fate. But maybe it'll let him have a few more years where he can try to become the man he kept pretending to be. The prosecutor sat down, disgusted, or maybe just tired. The judge looked at her. Anything else you'd like to add? Just one thing. She looked at Cassian. I forgive you. For all of it. For taking my choices. For destroying my life. For making me love you when I should have hated you. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I need to let it go so I can move forward. Tears streamed down her face. And I hope someday you can forgive yourself. Because carrying all that guilt, it's going to kill you faster than any prison sentence. She stepped down before anyone could ask more questions. Didn't wait for the sentencing, didn't need to hear the judge's decision. Just walked out of that courtroom and kept walking until she couldn't hear the building anymore. Found a bench, sat, tried to breathe. She'd said it. Finally said all the things that had been choking her for months. And it didn't feel like relief. It felt like goodbye. The sentencing came down an hour later. News alerts on her phone, 22 years, eligible for parole after 15. He'd be 53 when he got out. If he got out. More likely he'd die inside, the way most people like him did. She turned off her phone, went back to Germany, back to her apartment and her routine and her performance of healing. But something had shifted. The nightmares came less frequently. The reaching for phantom weapons stopped. The weight she'd been carrying started to feel lighter. Forgiveness. She'd meant it. Not for him, for herself. Because carrying his sins wasn't her job. Living his consequences wasn't her punishment.